All right, welcome to All Politics So Local, America's number one political hip hop uh, talk show. We have the first weekend of the month. That means it is the day for Pastrami politics. We're here with Rahman Muhammad and Alturrick Kenney, and every week we have a different. Every month we have a different conversation. That is a really good conversation, and we get stories, history that put a lot of the current politics into context. Right now, we have the governor's transition going on. We have a transition team. There's a lot of history behind that kind of stuff. I know we're going to hear some stories right now about some stuff that's happened before, especially when it comes to Black people, power, and politics. Where after at 7 o'clock, we have actually it's an intense night because at 7 o'clock we have Jalil Muntaqim. He served 49 years in prison for his commitment to Black liberation. He also brought Imam Jamil Al Amin, uh, as also known as Black Panther H Brown, into Islam. And there's a lot of history, it's a lot of context. At 7:45, we're going to have Dr. Ricardo Alverez and Rahman on, and we're going to talk about the long march for Mumia Abu-Jamal, and the long march that just happened. And Zaid is, of course, going to be on for that as well. And then at 8:30, we have DJ Rhino and the state of hip hop. Alverez will be jumping on just momentarily. But thank you both for coming on. Thank you both for being here. And Pastrami over politics, the transition.
The Pastrami politics, the transition. First of all, thanks for having us again. Me and my little sidekick right here, we're going to call him the sidekick, Alturrick Kenney. We appreciate, this opportunity once again. First, I want to first give congratulations, though, to Amina Bey, the newly elected Central Ward Councilwoman. And what I'm saying, the fact that, which is a personal thing for me, and that's the fact that she's the first Muslim elected in the city of Newark, the largest city in the state, which is crazy. That Newark is probably the last one. Tariq, am I right here? Is Newark the last?
Yeah, I think so.
Muslim elected official, which
I don't
is
think
crazy.
New York City had a Muslim
I'm talking
council member.
I'm talking about as far as in the state of New Jersey. That's what I was talking about. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think we are the last.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was very surprised at that. Like, I had no idea that, even in Newark's history, I had no idea.
Is Darren Sharif Muslim?
Friendly, right? It was a large Muslim population, and for no elected official to be Muslim before, I was surprised.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? That'd be interesting to know if Darren. I mean, his father was Muslim. I don't know if Darren was Muslim. It would be interesting to fill that out. I need to check on that because that might be factual. I've never known him to be like. I know his father was Muslim. I don't know Darren himself to be Muslim. But I've always wondered aloud why it takes so long for Muslims to be elected to that council. If Darren was the first, then we need to give kudos to that. But I don't, I never really known Darren to practice Islam. Do you, Tariq? I don't.
Yeah, I don't recall either, and he could be. I don't know. But we do know she is definitely the first Muslim woman, to serve with the municipal council. I really want to say that it's historic, So I mean, to have such a large Black Muslim population, if you have one, if not two, it's just not enough. Especially the history of Islam in our city, dating all the way back to, Noble Ali, even though he didn't practice Islam, but he was part of, why Islam came into this country, especially amongst African Americans. And him having rooted, his practice here in the state of New Jersey, in the city of Newark. It's interesting that, it just took us so many years to have that sort of representation.
Yeah, it's crazy because I would assume if there was a poll taken amongst religions in the city, we probably would be 50-50. I think the Muslim population would be very high in the city of Newark. Even those that just identify, as being Islam. So, kudos to that. I know a lot of people keep on hammering, why are you so caught up on the fact that she Muslim or that, first of all, the personal situation with me, but I don't think that's all that Amina brings to the table. I think that the work that she's done in the community, I supported her because of her history and community service. The fact that she happens to be Muslim too was just important to me, so that we can make that happen. But the work that she's done in the past, she's more than deserved to see certain individuals that like to go online and to discredit or try to make someone out of something that they're not. I don't even want to call their name because I don't think they need attention. It's just pitiful to me. We should congratulate that sister, give her an opportunity to govern, and let's see the work that she done. I mean, based on what her history is, it looks good. You know what I'm saying? So, let's just give her an opportunity. Yeah, but that'll be my last word on it. Rick, you got?
Yeah, I'm going to also add a couple of things as well. That Amina's always been one of those individuals who've been working in the background, making politicians look great. Whether it's reducing unemployment, connecting public and private services for opportunity, or whether it's providing food, clothing, and shelter for our most needed population, doing it sometimes in a shoestring budget. I think Amina has been that sort of voice. And it really says a lot about, this next wave of elected officials who walk into office who have a political acumen, but also have the public service background, and also able to discuss our issues, into the private sector to make sure that our people are represented. I think Amina represents that. And I'm excited. She's actually started off her administration, with boots on the ground. She is everywhere, anywhere, and and she's doing exactly what she's done, as a professional. I definitely have to give Amina so much credit because she's walking with the same spirit her family has had for so many years as they've been in the city of Newark, whether it's been, creating schools, independent schools to teach an independent form of curriculum, whether it's providing services, whether it's with the county or with the city. She has always been in leadership in terms of the services that she's provided. So Amina, is definitely something that, hopefully the next wave of elected officials can do more outside of just being performative politicians, bring something substantive to the table. And I think that's what Amina represents.
Yeah. So listen, let's get back into our state politics with the transition team. I think I'm debating on whether I have an opinion about it because they're just getting started, so I don't want to prejudge it. I think Dale is the in charge, or she's made Dale the chair of the transitional. He's now, I think, her first cabinet pick, which is the Secretary of State, and I think the black ministers and the community activists, the mayor, the urban mayors who participated in these across the state political these meetings trying to get a black agenda. I think they're moving forward with that. I think the mayor did a good job in Atlantic City presenting the agenda that they came up with. And so to me, I listen, I think we got to give it a chance and wait and see. It's just really getting started off the ground. Not seeing anything to be critical of yet because we haven't seen what's coming out the committee. Hopefully that the concerns of the urban communities. I don't just want to talk for black folks. Let's talk about the black and brown individuals, and that we, hopefully that our concerns are met within this committee. It's 400 people. I know many of them that's on the transition committee. She just came up with an advisory committee for the what is that, the urban, urban communities, Alturrick, I think it is, the advisory committee for the mayor. And they're meeting so that she can hear the concerns. And so, Phil Lodge is the chair. So listen, let's give him an opportunity. Listen, I don't want to, be critical of someone who is just starting the job and trying to do the job. I'm in a wait and see mode. I'm not for or against. You know what I'm saying? I'm, just trying to see, what is going to pan out. I hope that we are putting the issues on the table that impacts our community, and that once this is over and people are put in place, that we just ain't talk about it, that things going to actually get done. Because you know what I'm saying, we definitely need to get movement instead of meetings. You know what I'm saying, we always have meetings. It's time for movement. You know what I'm saying, and you know, I'm in the movement business right now. I keep trying to tell people I don't have the luxury of just keep waiting anymore. I'm in the movement business, and so I'm hoping that we are moving in a direction to ensure that a lot of the things that the Black and brown community need in their communities, that is just not lip service, that we're not appointing a few people in position, taking care of the same people that we've always taken care of, and just forget about everybody else and move on into the next election. I'm hoping that does not happen. And so, you know, I'm gonna give her an opportunity to see. I'm not, you know, I'm not going to judge it until things are in place.
Yeah, I think that what you're saying, Rock, is spot on. I mean, considering the fact that 94% of the people who actually voted for her came from the African American community.
95.
Sorry, can you hear me?
95%.
94, 95. That's like saying 6 or 7, right?
Right.
So 94%.
Well, the 1% is important out here in this country.
I got you. But I think it's important to say that it was part of the reason why there was a 13.7% percentage gap, you know, and so it was very clear and distinctive that Essex and Hudson, you know, delivered for Mikey. And I think part of what that does for us is to give us leverage about, you know, how to, you know, in the Black and brown community, how is the state going to help shrink that wealth gap that exists between Black and white in the state? You know, there's literally a $600,000 wealth gap, and for her to put together a task force that's based on the conversations that are in the Black agenda, I think that's important. You know, the other part of it is that outside of, you know, how do we build homes in this state? You know, who's building those homes? You know, and I'm happy to see Ryan Higgard as a part of those conversations as well, because I believe he has our interests at heart. And so, you know, I think that, you know, having, you know, people at the table to ensure that we're not leaving food on the table, I think that's critically important. And to have individuals like a Ryan, like a Raz, those two people I can, you know, by name, I know that they have the interest of our community because they've been putting the labor, putting the work in. But I think people, you know, throughout the state, you know, want equity in terms of, you know, government and what's able to do for all communities, you know, and I think that this Black agenda does that, you know, and it becomes something of a policy piece that didn't exist prior to this year. You know, we've always had some national policy pieces, but I think every ethnic group, you know, that wants to consider themselves political powers in the space have to codify exactly what is it that you want. You know, how do you hold individuals accountable, and how do you identify those items that can ensure that we can either close the wealth gap? How do we address Black maternal health? Like, how do we able to, you know, deal with, you know, opportunities in the state, in the county, to ensure that we're able to get more Black vendors, you know, not only into the mix, but also making sure they get those opportunities, given those barriers that currently exist. So, you know, it's going to be exciting to see, you know, how Dale's a part of this conversation, how he's able to bring people a part of it. But the other part of it, that this Black agenda has done the same thing, and I know you want to talk about this later, is what Sharp and Ron Rice did when they went to the legislature years ago, is by creating a legislative caucus where, you know, our issues are brought to the table. And if not, then there's real consequence that can occur in the state, you know, if there's those things that are not being addressed in a very individual level.
I think what I don't want to make the mistake of doing now is to giving those in the legislature a pass, rather Latino or Black, that's in the legislature a pass. I think that we have to stop just trying to hold the governor
That's true.
responsible for making sure that we get just doing our communities. That we got plenty of legislations that's African American and Latino that's sitting in the state assembly and in the Senate, and that they have to share some responsibility to ensure that these issues occur. I'm looking at people like Jacosier, because I know the potential of a Jacosier. And, you know, I told him, I said, brother, I'm letting you know right now, I'm watching every vote you do. Like I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to hear nothing. I don't want you. Don't you come to me with no excuses, brother, because I'm not, you know, I'm not doing it. And I know your brain power. I know what you're capable of doing, and you know, I want to see what you're gonna push. I want you to go in there and be different. You know what I'm saying? To be, you know, if you have to be that grenade, then be that grenade. You know what I'm saying? Because unfortunately, that's what it's going to take. You know what I'm saying? Individuals like that, smart enough, and to be able to articulate some sort of policy agenda that is going to at least have us get a fair shot of that, you know, because the whole DEI thing, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's going, you know, they're going to use that excuse to not do a lot of things for our community. So we need to, I don't, you know, I want to get away from talking about DEI and just talk about fairness, you know what I'm saying? And opening the process up that gives me an equal opportunity to be able to do the same thing. Like the rules that apply to them also applies to me. You know what I'm saying? And to me, that is where the Jacosiers of the world, to me, come into play to ensure that that happen. Him and many other people that's in the community. What's going on, Ed?
What's good, brothers?
Hey, Ed, what's going on?
What's up,
Well,
man?
Jonathan is off.
Jonathan's in the back. He had to get me on for some reason, man. We were having some technical difficulties back there. What's up, y'all?
How you doing, sir?
All right.
So yeah, we was just talking about the legislature and the governor and the transition and stuff. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it. You know, I think that we have to stop giving these legislature passes, and they have to be held responsible for making sure that whatever the agenda that the mayor and Charles Boyer, who, by the way, I got some concerns about some of his comments that he said on the show, that you know, some of those things that you know, we have to make whatever that is, that you know, that is being pushed by more than just the governor's office. You know what I'm saying? And here's the other thing, because this is where I want to get into some of the things that Charles Boyer said. I think that we have to correct. I don't think Harriet would have shot someone who talked to a Republican. Like, I want us to get away from it. I don't want to. That I'm sorry. That is pretty much what he's saying.
That's not what he intended. That is what
he intended, and I don't care what nobody say. Y'all can defend it all you want.
We can all have different interpretations.
Yeah, you can do it to fit. You can do interpret all you want. At the end of the day, we cannot talk about black folk in the context of their selling out, or that Harriet would have shot them. People that Harriet, you don't know who Harriet would have shot. Let's be just very clear about that.
It's in the record.
And no, I don't. No, I'm sorry. The record does not speak to your politics of today. Like, we got to get away from that nonsense. And the deal is, like, I don't like that language because I believe that everybody has to have their individual way of doing things. And some of us got to be on the other side. The bottom line. And we can't tell you that some of those people that's on the other side may feel like what they're doing is benefiting us. We can't take and say that what they're doing is not, especially when we still ain't got nothing.
Well, this is where you and I disagree, right? So Frederick Douglass was a Republican, right? And Frederick Douglass was on the other side. And he wasn't grifting, you know, as I think with Charles Boyer. Grifting means that you're looking out for your personal interests against the interests of the community.
I can't say that you looking out for your personal interests.
I'm just answering your question, Rahman.
But who are you to make that judgment is what I'm keep trying to say to y'all. Like, who are we to make that call?
Well, that's what Harry Tubman comes in. So the example that Harry Tubman was saying was that we're trying to go towards freedom. And anyone who goes against the freedom is to the detriment of the entire group.
Against it because we're not all going with the Democratic Party? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think that's what he's saying.
That's what he was saying.
Is that no, that's not what he's saying. So he's saying that if you're a Republican, be a Frederick Douglass Republican, right?
I'm sorry.
And what he's saying is that if you're going to be a Republican,
said they wasn't? He said they wasn't.
Well, I'm telling you the interpretation.
But whose opinion is determined whether they are Frederick Douglass? I mean, Frederick Douglass Republican or not? His.
That's true. Based on your agenda.
Who makes that choice?
That's fine, because we all listen to people
So
and see
I don't
exactly
agree that they not Frederick Douglass Republicans.
Well, I mean, Rahman. At the end of the day, we got to hear each other, just like you got to hear me express my opinion. That you disagree with it. So what he's saying is that people, we know in politics, people grift, right? Yeah. And it simply means that people grift. Don't disagree with you. Okay. Don't disagree with you at all, right? So people in politics grift, right?
Yeah.
Where they actually advance
too.
I'm sorry?
Preachers grift too.
Probably so, but I'm not
No
disagreeing with
problem.
that.
I know that for a fact.
I don't disagree with that. But the point he's making with that, individuals grift for their own personal interest, not the interest of the group, the community. And so what he's saying is that, based on the way I understood, is that in our community we have people who are promoting issues that are against their community for their own personal and individual interests. And I think that that's what we talked about. If you're going to be a Republican, be a Frederick Douglass Republican, be the type of person when slavery was around and he was having conversations with Lincoln, he didn't do just for proximity politics. He said that at the end of the day, I want the freedom, the self-expression of Black people to be codified within law. We wanted to have the ability to fight in our military. We also want to have the ability to own land in our country. And so he wasn't a Republican just to simply support everything that was everything that was against his own self-interest and the interest of his group. And so you have to have the ability to criticize even your own party and say, just like you've done a number of times, Rahman, you said just because I'm a Democrat doesn't mean I support all the individuals who have the policy that's working against the interests of the organization. So, for example, over the last few months, Rahman, you've been very critical of the state and county regarding the inability to ensure that Black vendors have an opportunity in each levels of government. So we want people to be just like Rahman. If you're going to be a Republican, be like Rock, right?
Well, who said they not?
Well, I think the problem,
just like Democrats, like Rahman has done.
But I think the problem is that many of them aren't, right? Like when many of them are criticizing the Democrats, that's cool, right? Like it's like we have the same criticisms, and I think those criticisms should be strong. But when it came down to things that were going on, they're just like mimicking the same lines as the Republican lead. They were like, "Hey, Trump, it's good," and they're selling the things that we know were bad, right? I'm not talking about everything that he does. I'm not talking about in wholesale, but I'm talking about like they're not even speaking out about the specific anti-Blackness that's going on, or the specific things that are targeting Black communities, the specific things that hurt people. Like you're not criticizing the stuff that he's doing in immigration. You're not criticizing the stuff he's doing.
But John, I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about running in an election where we had many African American people that we thought that was dealing with Chitterelli. Some I knew, you know what I'm saying? And I'm saying, like, I don't view them as some people that Harriet would have shot. What's the brother that did the endorsement in the paper? The one, I think he hedge fund guy. You think what he said didn't have some truth to it? Like, I mean, he's not a Frederick Douglass. He's not a Frederick Douglass. The one that supported Chitterelli and did that op-ed in the paper. What was his name? What's his name? The brother. I think he hedge fund guy.
Yeah.
What's his name? So what are we saying? That brother, what he's saying, there's no truth to what that brother was saying? What he wrote was absolutely true.
Right, and I'm saying that
I don't view him as being
like
someone that Harriet would have shot, because he's pointing out deficiencies that we've been historically supporting for years. You know what I'm saying? That starting for years, that we're supposed to be at a promised land that we still have not. I think Harriet would have shot people who keep promising you things that never give you. I think she would have shot those people. Like, I mean, like, we got to get away from this. No, I'm saying, like, I think that we have to have people talking to the other side. The only way we're going to have a balance in our community is that we listen to both sides. We can't.
Rahman, I think you confused the argument, right?
No, I'm not confusing the argument.
But Rock, the argument is about listening to the other side. The question becomes, when you listen to the other side, who are you advocating on behalf of? And I think part of the problem is
advocating on behalf of my community. What do you? I don't understand.
But not everyone is, right? Like,
not everyone is.
But who makes that judgment, Jonathan?
You can make that judgment, Rahman.
You can make it by the arguments, right? Like if you are doing what the other person did, who is literally criticizing that there are 0 Black businesses, like less than before, then that is a legit criticism. Like, you are doing that for the community, and they have to answer for that. If you were, and you can tell that, right? But there are a lot of people who, when you press them, they had nothing to say. They were.
We're not talking about those
the same
people,
line.
But Jonathan, I don't want to talk
think that's
about
the
those
difference.
people. I think no, because what I think we do is because there are some people that are just on the fringe, Jonathan, and most of those people I view as being on the fringe. But then there are people like that brother who did that op-ed, who was pointing out something significant for our community that somehow we just dismiss, because what at the end of it, he says, oh, and by the way, I'm not supporting the Democratic nominee. And we just dismiss that argument that he's making as if it's not valid. And it is absolutely valid. And if we continuously dismiss those things, it is the reason why they take us for granted and we don't get the things that we want to get with. So I don't want to think that if we are saying to people, oh, you're a sellout, or I don't want to talk to people that Harriet would have shot, or like if we start utilizing these terms, like somehow that's going to change that brother's mind who wrote that op-ed. That's not. That's not changing his mind, because he's going by experience and what he sees. Oh, by the way, I'm also going by experience and what I see. Like I'm not sold on rhetoric anymore. You know what I'm saying? We have to be sold on what is beneficial to our community. Our community need more because we don't have more. And one of the reasons why we don't have more is because we have not effectively utilized our collective political power to ensure that we've getting more. That all we've done, to be honest with you, is what he's complaining about on the Democratic side. And that is for individuals to have benefited from those relationships.
Right.
For Rahman, there's another argument that can be made as well, that he is trying to leverage his individual criticism of the Democratic Party for his ability to get business from a Republican administration. Like, that's one argument can be made. The other one could be a retribution political agenda as well, that because I didn't get business in the last 4 years of a Democratic administration, I'm going to change to another administration and do it, and I'll try to leverage that opportunity for my own self-interest. And so that can be made on both sides of the argument, Rahman.
But I think that second argument is legitimate. Like, in other words, if Democrats are not doing the things they need to do, then yeah, of course they're held accountable, right? Like, or at least you should. Like, I'm gonna give a shout out to Gerald Murphy, right, who was doing a lot of organizing for the Chitterelli campaign, and he got a lot of people on our show before. A lot of times candidates are running, and I think that he legitimately believed that he should be supporting another side because we should be on both sides. I think that he has arguments about like what different people should do, and ideally, I do want people. I was thinking that like a lot of us were thinking that Chitterelli was going to win, and part of my thinking was that, you know, if he does win, then I hope that the people that I respect who are on his side, and Gerald Murphy is one of the people I respect who is on his side, would have been very focused on the issues about our community and would have been approaching them from that perspective, because from there, yes. And I think that we're solely into being into one party. Yeah, we have to make sure that we are advocating really, really hard for it. But I think there's a difference between that principled advocacy and some of the people who are not necessarily fringe, well, but not necessarily looking out for our best interest. It's like, and you're right in that it is the same on both sides, right? Like, as in, there are Democrats who are in it for individual, that's identity politics, right? I'm represented, and therefore I'm represented. I'm not going to fight for the things that are necessary for my people. And I think that you see that on the other side as well. But I do think that there are some people who are on the Republican side who, like, or some of these people who are trying to organize, were trying to organize because, let's face it, liberal white people can be just as dangerous, can be just as against our interest as people who are as people who are conservative and Republican.
Oh, the liberal white folks are that way. They are that way, Jonathan. I worked with them for 23 years. They are that way.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely.
Right.
And we even question, like, when you were making criticisms of the county executive who endorsed Christie, but there was no pushback because many of the people who are Democrats actually believe in those same things, right? Like, there's not as much of a difference. And yeah, it's really about picking the person you want to fight, right? Who do you most want to fight? But you got to fight everybody. Like, we have to fight everybody.
Yeah, I don't. You know, I just think that we have to. I don't want to get into the. I think that, you know, that as adults and at this age now that I'm in, that I'm mature enough to understand. And when I was younger, in the Democratic Party, I thought a lot like a lot of the other folks when it came to this. But I think in my maturity that I understand the importance of both sides of the conversation. And I think that those who, especially when I'm experiencing the fact that we really have not gained, you know what I'm saying? And so
Why do
in
you
our
keep making that
community,
argument?
well, because it's
Rahman, you
true.
keep making the same argument. You're
Because
saying
it's
that we
true.
haven't gained
We have
anything.
not
No, it's
gained.
not true. You keep
No,
saying
we
that we
have
haven't
not
gained
gained
anything
economically. I don't
from the
understand what you're saying.
being a participants with a Democratic Party. I don't understand what you're saying.
We
Like
have
the
not.
Democratic,
I
like you
don't think our
saying,
community is
we as
better.
Black people
I
haven't
don't think our
gained
community is
anything
better.
as people who are
We have
being
not.
members of the
Maybe
Democratic
this
Party.
might make it.
Explain that to me.
Maybe
We
this
have
might
not.
make it clear.
What do you?
But
I don't think we've
Rahman,
gained. What are you talking about? I think we're backwards. I think we
I
treading
think
water.
Rahman, I think your argument. What I want you to do is like you always have stories that talk about how you get to the conclusions that you get to, right? And in here, I think that there's some you. I remember you were talking about some things with James. You were talking about some stories that you were going to tell that were going to be consistent with the transition that's going on right now. Part of the reason why I knew this conversation was going to be interesting is because after the election, that's when people divide stuff up for themselves individually, and where does the community fall in? So I knew that this conversation was going to go this way, but a lot of times the reason why you think the way you do is because of experiences that you've had. There are people, there's conversations, there's stories that you have that, in a transition make a difference. I remember you were talking about Sharp James, but I don't know what that story was. Is that story related to transition and power?
Well, I mean, the Sharp James stories that I have really is the about the support that he gave to us in our growth in the city. I don't think it's about the transition. I think that Sharp has. I think that me coming up in the labor movement in my young age, that he was one of the figures that in my growth was very instrumental. And I tell people this all the time. As much as people would say that Sharp was this in some cases when dealing with the politics, that he was very rough. When it came to me in politics, Sharp never said no to me. You know what I'm saying? He never one time denied me any of my requests that I asked for. I remember the time when I went to him to make sure we got the votes for Raz to be appointed after Donald Tucker had passed. He got on the phone and he swore me to secrecy. He passed away now, so I can tell it now. But he got on the phone with Mamie Bridgeforth and convinced her to support, Raz Baraka, because he thought he was going to be the fifth vote. And and I had said to them, Sharp, he need to get 5 votes on the council. He can't get 4 votes and you're the fifth vote. He need to get 5 votes on the council. And he convinced Mamie. He called Mamie in the office when I was in there, told me to be quiet, and he convinced her to support the mayor. And then the next day, Charlie Bell called me after he realized that Raz had the 5 votes, and Charlie called me and said, "Listen, I'm going to vote for your guy." And so then he had 6 votes, and that's how he first got on the council. And so, I mean, I just wanted to give some history on the content, because a lot of people think that me and Sharp relationship ended bad, and it can't be further from the truth. I mean, what you saw in public, you know what I'm saying, with us going back and forth in the press, or me actually coming out endorsing Corey, is not a shock to Sharp James, because me and Sharp James actually met on this, and he was actually told that this is what was going to happen, because he told me he wasn't running. You know what I'm saying? So, those who believe that he was running and who is making believe that, I have there's nothing I can do about that. But I knew he was not running. And I tried to tell my peers that Sharp James is not running. You know what I'm saying? And folks, wanted to believe it because he was going through those motions. And so when individuals see me come out and supported Corey, they thought that this was this big betrayal, that the union went against Sharp James. And that is the furthest from the truth. Sharp James was not running. And me and him talked about it, and we had planned on it. and I had gave him a deadline on making a decision to drop out the race. He did not take the deadline. And so because of that, I had to come out and make my endorsement before he dropped out the race. But this was something that he knew. You know what I'm saying? There was no animosity between me and Mayor James because of that. This was something that he knew. That it's the people around the mayor that took things personal and created the chaos that existed, that followed behind this endorsement, even to the point where, you know, somebody ran against me in the union. And so Zaire, what's going on? Assalamu alaikum, my brother. You know what I'm saying? So you know, I just wanted to give Mayor James his credit because, you know, coming up in politics, he was one of the few, you know what I'm saying? I think that because he didn't have a funeral and he didn't have a memorial, that many of us can't really tell our story. And I think at some point we do have to tell that story, that, you know what I'm saying, there were things that me and him disagreed with vehemently about. And there were things that me and him came together on. And I'm going to say at all times, anytime I needed him, including when he came home and supported what we were doing with the Daddy's Care team. Well, with the Daddy Care team he supported, but including when he came home, we were still doing school board races and we were supporting. And I went to him, asked him for money. He never said no, and he didn't want to give it up. He was like, why should I give it? Why? And I convinced him, you know what I'm saying, to make contributions, and he did it. And I just want to give him credit for it, man, because I wasn't able to do it in a different setting. But I want the history to know that, you know, I didn't agree with everything the brother did, but he did a lot, and he did a lot for my growth. And, you know, the stories that I have, you know, especially because a lot of people, when he came into the city of North, especially the older crowd, a lot of people was trying to step on our necks when we was trying to come up. A lot of folks was trying to stop us, you know, trying to put roadblocks in front of us, and trying to, you know, become leaders in the city. And he was one of the people who was moving those roadblocks out the way and saying, you know, let him go. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, let him go. And by the way, I'm going to support him in, you know what I'm saying, what he's trying to do. And so I just wanted to give him kudos, because most of the times that I've had disagreement, it's never been with him. It's been with the people that was around him. And this is what I'm trying to say to you, that even when it comes to the governor, that it's never really the principal that's the problem. It's who she puts around her that's the problem, because they're the gatekeepers. They're the ones that's going to stop our agenda from getting to her. And we have to turn around here and be prepared to deal with those gatekeepers and who those gatekeepers are and what position that those gatekeepers are going to be in. And most of the time that I had any issue in this city was never because of Mayor James. It was always because of the gatekeepers around him who wanted to stop people from getting to him. It's just that me and him had a relationship where I can go directly to him and I didn't have to deal with the gatekeeper. Al, you wanted to say something on that?
Jonathan, I wanted to say rock my soul Shar James out. Just wanted to make sure that's clear. And
you see, Jonathan. You see what you got to go through, Jonathan. You see what you got to go through, Jonathan.
Wow.
So Jonathan, I was in that same meeting. I was in that same meeting that Rahman was in. It was me, Rahman, Shar, and I forgot what other person was in there. And he petitioned to Rahman to support him for his re-election. And he sold him out. He sold them out, Jonathan. I was there. He sold them out.
And you can't even get it.
Wow, you're like
there's a whole membership.
Man.
Hey, John. See, you can't even get a true. Hey, John. If you can't even get
push on like this.
Hey, John.
Oh.
You gotta cut it. You gotta cut it.
He sold them out.
Hey,
you're like, I gotta cut the line.
You gotta cut his mic, John.
He said he wasn't going to support him on Monday, and Tuesday he had Cory Booker's flag on his union hall. I was like, damn, what happened to that 24 hours?
Hey, John, no. You gotta cut. You gotta close.
He sold them out, Jonathan. I was there.
No. One question though. And because this is really about history, right? Yeah. And the union you had was very powerful. And I know that when we're talking about transitions, we're talking about power, and talking about access to power. Yeah. What was the thinking? Why was it? And again, I know you said you knew that Trev James wasn't running again.
Yeah.
But what was the need to endorse Corey above somebody else, or was it
Well,
just nobody else?
I mean, we,
Pouring of
you know, you
Ron
have to
Rice.
remember,
Which
you
one?
have,
Because you thought he couldn't
well,
win?
Ron couldn't win, and if I was in that meeting, he would have heard me say this to Sharp in that meeting. So once again, this is just go show you that Al just saying things. He should just be honest here. So the deal was that I never really had an issue with Cory Booker. You know what I'm saying? There was never really this. We were all with Cory at one point in time. You know, we had a youth organization together that we used to all meet. Cory, was invited. You know, when I used to do my youth leadership meetings at the Union Hall, we invited Cory to those meetings. We used to all meet at Focus together as a group. Myself, Raz, Cory, Darren. I mean, many of us at Untitled Chapter. Many of us used to meet at Focus on a regular basis and doing things. So there was never really this hatred out there for Cory. We just didn't think in 2002 that he was ready and that we wasn't ready to support him in 2002. But in 2002, y'all have to understand, after the election in 2002, we had Al talking about a meeting that we had in the office, by the way, which I said to him, then you can't run. I'll need to be honest here. The way he's trying to drop out the race, he shouldn't be doing. But in 2002, there was a meeting with principals. Alturrick was a part of that meeting, but there were meetings after 2002 with myself, JJ, Ben, certain people around Mayor Sharp James who were part of his campaign. We had all met, and he talked about him not running in 2006, that he's not running again. He told us this in 2002. But what we had said to him in the meeting, Jonathan, was that you can't act as if you're not running, because you can't be a lame duck. We got to still get things done. So you still have to govern as if you're running for re-election. And so we couldn't tell people in 2002 that, oh, Sharp's not.
Did Rock cut his mic?
No, my mic is still on. You got it? Y'all don't hear me?
I hear you.
Y'all hear me?
I hear you.
What part did you miss?
I can't hear Rock.
You don't hear me?
Oh. And Alturrick came out and is in. Can you hear you now?
I hear you.
I hear you.
Ed, can you hear? I can hear you well. Ed, try coming out and going back in.
Yeah, I hear.
I just can't hear Rock.
Yeah, try going out and coming back in, and then you'll probably be able to hear everybody.
All right.
Oh yeah. So I don't. So the deal is like, in 2002 we knew this, folks, but we couldn't go out and telling people this stuff. Like, it wasn't something that we was able to go out and have a conversation about, right? And so, those who don't understand that, there was not this big push. Cory was going to be the mayor. He was doing the work. There was nobody else doing the work. And if you're the union leader, you have to have a relationship with whoever's going to be the mayor. And this is the conversation that me and Mayor James had. Like, listen, if you're not going to be the mayor, I have to have a relationship with who's going to be the mayor. You cannot leave the race the way you're doing. And I told him also in this meeting, if Alturrick was there, I'm trying to remember he was there. I know Garrett was there. I know Herb was there. I know Anton was there. I'm trying to remember if Al was there. But in this meeting,
I went to the meeting, brother. I can't believe you insulted me like that.
Okay. Well, then he know what I said. I also told him in this meeting that Ron Rice could not win. I also told him that in this meeting, that Ron could not win, that this was not too late for Ron to come out and try to run for mayor, that he was not going to have enough support out there to win, that Cory was going to be the mayor, and I had to have a relationship with who the mayor was, and he could not leave the race like this. And the best thing that he could have done to me, and I had said to this in the meeting, was to meet with Cory and try to figure out a transition where we can work together, where there wouldn't be this adversarial type of situation that happens and Cory take over as the mayor. That was the request that I had made in the meeting that Alturrick was in. And I had gave him 2 weeks to make that decision. And he didn't make that decision, and I had to make an endorsement. And so, but I'm going to say it again. There was never an issue between me and Mayor James about that endorsement. I want to be very clear with that. The issue was with those around the mayor who don't know what our conversations were. It was never an issue with me and him. You know what I'm saying? It was something that we talked about. So,
and what you said was really interesting, because it actually got into what the original conversation was. You were like, as a union leader, you couldn't not have a relationship with the executive,
right?
No matter who the executive was.
Right.
Your interest had to be seen no matter who it was.
Right.
And this goes full circle in the conversation because it seems like in the beginning of the conversation, it was we can't just be holden to one party because it almost seems like we escaped one this time because we knew that based on the conversation that Chitterelli was having and based on what his stated interests were, his stated interests for the most part didn't seem like they would align with ours, right? Like as in an issue after issue, it seemed like he was going to be cutting urban education to
Right.
funnel money back another way. It seemed like
Right.
he was going to be, aiding in ICE coming into our communities and getting the state police to work with them, right? Like it seemed like he was going to be pushing a lot of things that were absolutely not in our interest. And there was nothing to stop him because if he won, he wouldn't have won really because of us.
Right.
So he wouldn't have had like a reason to be like, hey, maybe I need to look out their interest, or worse, maybe I just need to look out for the interest of the 5 or 6 people who are around me who are advisors, right? So it seems like what you're talking about is if you're going to be a responsible leader in the way that you're talking about responsible leadership, you got to make sure that no matter who's the executive, that you have a working relationship with them and that they can focus on your interests. Is that really what is this where it's coming
I
from?
mean, as important, but it's also important. It ties back into what I'm telling you about people quick to jump to the ship that you see what Al saying, oh, he sold them out. And I know Al kidding, but I'm just saying like there are people who actually believe that. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm trying to say? So you have those individuals who, we make statements out there and saying things that if you don't understand what the backstory, you don't know what my intentions is, why do you label me as such? You know what I'm saying? I had to you got to understand that when I came out for Cory Booker, there were a lot of people who, because I come from the James era, that were like really upset with me. You know what I'm saying? And I had to, for years, deal with some backlash because of that. But once again, I shouldered the burden, understanding that, folks, I tried to tell y'all these things, but you didn't want to listen to me. And you know what I'm saying, because I'm taking a stand as a leader, I got to represent my membership. I cannot turn around here and represent individuals. I don't know why the mayor chose not to inform certain individuals of what his intention was, but I know what he informed me of. I know what he informed my team of. I know what he informed the people that would have actually had to been working the election for him of. And so I had to do something, and my decisions had to be based on that. It could not be based on emotions and people's love. I love Sharp James.
Yeah.
He was like a father to me. In a lot of ways, I supported Joe D because of Sharp James. Sharp James and Calvin West called me to Calvin's house and asked me to support Joe D. Sharp James asked me that, and I did that. You know why I did that? Because that man, whatever I asked that man for, he gave to me. Understand something. My mentor, the guy that raised me in the business, was not supporting Joe D. He was supporting Tom Giblin. So I went against his interests to support Sharp and what he requested for me, because every single thing I went to for Sharp James, he gave it to me. You know what I'm saying?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Rahman, can I ask you a question? Because there are consequences that come to those sort of things, those sort of decisions. You represented your membership. You supported Cory Booker. Your membership included what? Sanitation, food workers. Who else? Crossing guard. When Cory got in office, what happened to your ministry? What happened to
what's crazy about it is the crazy part about is when Cory got in office and he first started doing the layoff, Cory did not impact my membership. And as a matter of fact, when I started protesting and stuff, I was protesting because he was impacting other people's membership. I remember me and Cory called me in the office and said, why are you out here doing this? No, none of your members are laid off. And I said, this ain't about just my membership. It's about the people in the city of Newark. You know what I'm saying? So I want to be very clear about that I didn't have to have a beef with Cory Booker. So this just goes to show you the difference between people that hold people accountable. Even after I supported Cory, when he started laying people off the way he was laying people off, I challenged that. I could have been silent to that. And just went along with it. And nothing, it would have been okay. I challenged that as a leader and said, no, it don't matter if it's not impacting my membership. It's impacting Newark workers. When I was having union meetings, I was inviting every Newarker that worked in the city of Newark to those union meetings so that we can ride. They didn't like that. They didn't understand. They couldn't understand why I was doing it. Like, right, not one of your people got a layoff notice. What is going on? Now, later on,
and that's
he
why
attempted to, hold on, wait a minute. Now, later on, he attempted to privatize sanitation, and he lost. You know what I'm saying? I beat him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? But that came years later. But when he first came into office, he did not impact my membership at all. As a matter of fact, I got my contracts. I got all of that stuff. They asked me, why are you in the middle of this? You know what I'm saying? You are not impacted by any of this stuff. And I told them it wasn't about my membership. It was about the workers in the city of Newark.
Yeah.
And was it also potentially about your membership in the future, as in, like, if he would do that to them, then the way in which he would privatize sanitation or have that type of thinking, that needed to be pushed back on? Like, was that also part of the thinking?
Well, I mean, it wasn't something that I thought about at the time. I wasn't being impacted, but naturally, anybody that know me as a union leader, it didn't matter. Like I said to you before, I had T-shirts that said, keep my neighbor working. I had those T-shirts for a reason. You know what I'm saying? It was never, you know, as a labor leader, to me, it should never be about just your membership. It should always be about the membership in whole, because one impacts one impact. So in some ways, you're absolutely correct that he could have done that. You know what I'm saying? And he did try, you know what I'm saying, later on. But the point that I'm trying to make, it doesn't matter. Like, it's the thinking should not be that. The thinking should be that if you for workers, that you fight for all workers, rather in your union or not. And that's what my thinking was at the time.
Yeah. And I think that Harry Tubman would agree with you. You wouldn't be shot.
No. This guy, man. Hey, mute his mic. John.
I'm muting my own mic, so can't mute his. I'm keep muting my own.
Yeah. So listen, I told Al I wanted to show Sharp some love tonight. Love tonight, because I thought that is important, and I never cleared that part of history up about what happened when I made that endorsement with Corey. I never cleared that up because like I said, a lot of these discussions is things that me and him had in confidence, and things that we, shouldn't have been, he didn't want shared. And so, now I can do that, right? Because I'm gonna write a book one day. And the reality of the matter is that, for what people thought occurred did not happen. Like, this was always something that me and him had a conversation. Me, him, and Ruben had a conversation. Ruben is still alive as Ruben. Don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, this conversation me and him and Ruben used to have. Like, these conversations that
name drop, like Ruben who?
Ruben Johnson. Ruben is the guy that used to own the Bridge Club and Bogies. I mean, Ruben's like a godfather to me. So he's always been a part of the discussions with me, and a lot of discussion between me and Sharp James Ruben was involved in, especially when it came down to that endorsement. Because they was around the same age. So, my having a conversation with him, Ruben, together was more comfortable for me rather than me and Sharp because of the age difference.
I know that we are coming to the end of this this segment. And is there something we're able to talk about the stuff that we really wanted to talk about, like the transition, the stuff behind it, and also some of the larger back and forth politics that is real politics, like how we need to start thinking about things in a way that's strategic, right? And who you make alliances with, and we got some great stories and some great history as well. Anything either of you want to add before we go to the next segment?
No, I think what Rock has summed up, I think it's exciting times and what's happening in New Jersey, and to be a part of this experience, especially, having our voice, represented by some powerful people. But I think we can't just put all our issues on one's shoulders. I think we have to continue to influence, what we have and what we want to represent in the Black agenda. I think right now it's critical. I think we should ask for everything that we want and make demands on everything that we need. I know Kim Gaddy's online from environmental justice. I see Manura's online as well regarding, our ability to get into construction trade business, something that she's been trying to champion for years, whether it's Black women or just Black people in general, or people just getting opportunities, in the vending spaces, whether it's more than just jobs. Like, this administration have to be more than just getting jobs. It has to be, how do we change the dynamic of Black people, using government to ensure that our interests is met. And also, we want to be on the opposite side of Harry Tubman's gun as well, looking out for our own self-interest rather than interest of the whole.
He said the other side of Harriet Tubman's gun. Hey, Jonathan, brother, you have to turn around here and cut folks off when they start bringing Harriet Tubman up in the conversation. None of these people know what Harriet Tubman would have done. I'm sorry, brother. None of these people
First of all, we got a historian online.
Oh, yeah,
Mr. online, not you, Rahman. We have Mr. Muhammad online. He's a historian. So I don't listen to you for history. I listen to the other Muhammad, the first one, not the last one.
Listen, stop it, John. Stop it. We have to. I think we are in the age of 2025. We are intellectually capable of understanding that we are going to have different opinions. And listen, let me say on this show, man, I want different opinions. If everybody thinking alike, then we don't have a show. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest with you. That's not a debate. That's not a conversation. I don't want to turn around here and parrot everything people say. That's not. I got my own thinking, my own source, and I'm not controlled by any party. I'm not controlled by any one way of thinking. My thinking evolves. And, I've seen a lot over the years, and my thinking has evolved over the years. I thought one way when I was young, and I think another way when I'm now. But I'm thinking my way now because I have grandkids and I have children, and I want them to be better off. And I just don't know if we better off. You know what I'm saying? And the deal is like, yeah, we've gotten some things on the margin, but it's definitely not enough, right? And, I'm going to say it again. We cannot watch people get billions of dollars, spend billions of dollars around us, and that we are so loyal to them that we turn around and dismiss the fact that we got nothing from that. And the only way they was able to do that is by us ensuring that they was in position to do that. Like, I just think that, like, we have to stop that, folks. I'm sorry, man. If we want our community to stop being dependent on programs like SNAP, stop having to worry about HUD and affordable housing, and we get when they make these type of cuts, it impacts us way more. It impacts us way more because we need it way more. We need it way more because the resources that they have so that we don't need it is always turned around here. The gatekeeper keeps it away from us. And they make it so that we don't have the access to it. And it's not fair. And we need to go into this administration to make sure and demand that we have that access. And if we don't, then you know what? It's a mark on us. You know what I'm saying?
So and they probably will end up getting primary. Right.
So before they leave the show, Jonathan, I just want to say, I think the gentleman you were talking about, Rock, was Jacob Whitthorpe Jr. from Blueprint Capital Advisor.
Right. Yeah, that brother. Right.
Okay.
Right. I don't believe Harriet would have shot Brother Jacob. I just wanted to be clear about that. I don't believe that, and I think that what he wrote was absolutely valid. I'm saying absolutely valid.
Well, let me say this. I think that Pastrami in Politics is an extremely important show, and I think that is because of who you Rock and Tariq, who y'all are, and I think that what y'all bring, particularly because y'all are from this community. But Rock, I think that you live it every day in that store, and I think that when you keep talking about the community, it is because you see that every day in there. You see everything going on, and so I think that that's it. And I think with Alturrick, I think that he brings the levity to it, but I think that without a doubt, I think that he adds that kind of drop of seriousness that we need to everything that's being talked about. Because Rock, I think you're a walking history book, my brother. When it comes to politics in this city, man. So, thank you.
And what I realized. And just to throw this in, what I realized not long ago is Alturrick is also like a history book, somebody who's been around the rooms and just has a lot of memories of a lot of stuff that went on. So I really do appreciate having both of you on in terms of just like the history and the stories that we would never hear about, right? We would never
And
ever hear
and
about because we're not in
and
those
John,
circles.
they got a big show coming in the beginning of the year, man. I think we may have to do some promotion for that, man. You know what I
Okay.
mean? You know.
Sandwiches. We need sandwiches. That's what we need. We
Hey,
need to
hey,
get
hey, hey,
All
legitimately
I just
pastrami
want to,
and
I just
not
want to
pay
shout out.
for it.
I just want to shout out to Denzel Washington and his team who've come here 2 days in a row to get their lunch. I
Oh
appreciate it.
wow,
I hope they. I
Nice.
told them I hope they take a picture of Denzel eating my food. You know what I'm saying? So I can
nice,
put it. So I just
nice.
want to say shout out to twice in a row, man. That
Let
his
me
team came up here and ordered lunch for him. So he looking at big rocks. I appreciate it. Give me a shout out, Denzel, if you out there. You know what I'm saying? Hook a brother up. You know what I'm saying? Give me a shout out.
Sounds
let me
good.
also Rahman. Let me shout out my office as well for buying a platter of food from Big Rocks
Yeah,
Deli
yeah.
to ensure
You
that
can
we
cut his
didn't even
mic. You can
support
cut
you.
his mic, Jonathan. You can cut his mic, Jonathan.
Wow. Wow. Hey,
Hey,
great.
listen.
Well, we do have our next guest. We do have our next guest in the background, so we want to just make sure we give them time because it's a really deep
Who they
show, really
listening?
great show.
Who they listening to?
We are. Oh, so this is All Politics So Local, and subscribe to All Politics So Local, and that on our YouTube page, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Now you.
Hey,
Thank you.
I'll see y'all next month, fellas.
Hey,
See you
hey,
next month.
hey, hey, listen. I'll see you guys next month. But there's some things we're gonna have to talk about with that boxing stuff. I want y'all to know that.
All
You
right,
know.
let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, man.
All right, cool. Peace, man.
All
Peace.
right, peace.
Later. Peace.
All right, so this is we have two interviews back to back, and Zai, thank you for putting them together, right? Because I think that we do not talk about the cost of fighting for liberation enough, and we don't give like the respect to the people and what they've done, what they've been through, and and what those costs are, right? Like we have political prisoners in the United States, and there are black political prisoners in the United States still, and we don't talk about it. It's like it doesn't exist, but we need to talk about it more. We need to talk about it more. We need to have those stories. And Zaid, I'm going to let you do the introduction because you do these introductions much better than myself.
Well, let me just say first and foremost, you all have no idea how much this particular conversation, in spite of its time constraints, means to me. And not just me, and I'm using me in the Black radical tradition. We, sense of we. I have been doing political prisoners since 1988. No, even more before that. We're getting feedback from something. Where we getting that from? Can y'all hear me all right? All right, that's a little better.
I can hear you.
But since the mid 80s, and ultimately tasked with doing Asada's party, I'm sure we're going to weave Asada's new departure to the land of the ancestors in this conversation. But Jalil, this black man here, Jalil Muntaqim, 49 years in prison. But before that, I mean, he didn't go to prison because he stuck up, some dumb white person. The Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army was real. And as a young man, he was a part of that incredible commitment that was the New York chapter of the party. And as that came under a vicious attack by the state, the Black Liberation Army, and paid a heavy price for his commitment. He became one of what we called back in the day the New York Three, right? Albert Newell Washington, our avenging angel of the Black Liberation Army and the Black Panther Party, and Herman Bell, who just got out shortly before him. Herman did damn near 45 years in prison, right? They really paid dues for their commitment. But Jalil brings something else. Jalil is, there are not many folks who are what you will call a real thinker, theoretician, right, in this work. And as a Panther and as a proud citizen of the Republic of New Africa, the New African tradition, Jalil Muntaqim has been a prolific writer and a very serious thinker. He has been one of those folks who ideate how we should be moving, right? Jericho didn't come out of the sky, his comrades, Herman Ferguson, who was my chair in the Malcolm X Commemoration Committee, and that's my responsibility now. Safi Bukhari, they were both rumbling together in the party in the BLA, right? They had very clear understanding of some movement needs that we had, but the ideation comes from people like Jalil. And any students who are on this conversation right now looking to pad their library with some gems should all get "We Are Our Own Liberators," because guess what? Santa Claus and the Democratic Party ain't gonna free our behinds. We got to do that ourselves. So, and then there's the drama that he faced on his way out. Cleared by a judge to be released after all that time, none other than Letitia James, where everybody's crying crocodile tears over because Trump came up, is coming after her behind. To us, that may be a case of the chickens coming home to roost, because she went into court to block his release after 49 years with no cause other than playing pussyfooting for the police and the police unions. And he wound up getting sick. This is the COVID era. And we could have lost Jalil, like we just lost Imam Jamil Al Amin. So, he's one of the few political prisoners I used to go see and visit and talk and perform for his comrades on the inside. It's been a long time coming to have this conversation, beloved. So I want everybody to appreciate Jalil Muntaqim, author, organizer, theoretician, Panther, BLA warrior, veteran of all sorts. To join us this evening for a few minutes of some precious conversation and insight on some very serious folks that we just lost just a few Mississippi minutes ago. Beloved, all power to people in free land, and assalamu alaikum.
Oh, alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jumbo, Hafadea, Ivrin, Haping, Shalom for the Judea, people of the Judea's belief system. Guten Tag for those of the German, Haping for the Chinese, Hafadea for the Guam, Paz for our Spanish brothers and sisters. Whatever your native language, I wish you peace and solidarity. Thank you, Brother Saeed, for that gracious introduction. Let me just make a clarification, if you don't mind. Right, sure. I was a member of the San Francisco branch of the Black Panther Party, and you talk about my dear beloved brother Noor. Right. That's where we met at, and Comrade Cisco. That's where we met at. I was part of the original the New York 5. They came into the New York 3. That's where I met my beloved comrade Herman Bell. We was all in San Francisco together, man, and we was running that down, keeping that in order, right, in terms of our politics and our goals and objectives within the Black Panther Party and Black Liberation Army. So I just wanted to make that there. And then naturally, as a result of the split in the party, I had to make some transitions and take care of some business in other places, right, that led me to New York. So that's how I got to New York, bro.
Yeah. And that clarification is important. And I apologize for just overgeneralizing.
no apology was required on me.
I haven't seen Cisco a minute too. This is somebody we need to get in these conversations too, But but listen, now there's so many things I want to get into with you, but really wanted to bring into focus the loss of two incredible comrades, right? And the one that we lost most recently, we probably need to spend the most time on, because as big as he was, the giant that he was in our struggle, the generation behind him, if they didn't have a few minutes with him, either inside or outside in Islamic circles, many do not really know or have had the real connection with Imam Jamil the way your generation has, right? And of course, you had the whole question of how you got to bleaked into Al-Islam inside by virtue of his influence as a profound, intimate, transforming story that is about why revolutionaries become revolutionaries, why we try to change the world, and that from which we believe in, sprouts from, right? So let's take a beat and tell us, if you in any way you need to, how you came to meet the Imam and how y'all came to have that relationship that would have Anthony Bottom become Jalil Muntaqim.
I like the way you framed that. That's very good, bro. 1972, December 1972. I had been, well, let me say this. I was arrested on October 21st, 1971 in San Francisco on 16th and Alabama Street, me and Sheikh Noor. We got captured as a result of our efforts to retaliate against the assassination of our beloved Field Marshal George Jackson. As a result of technical error or technical problem, our machine gun jammed. It resulted in our being car chase, shootout, and then our capture. I eventually got convicted of that shootout and another expropriation. We expropriated a bank, and we paid the rent of 5 families and took care of some other issues with regard to the party. And that's one of the ways that we was able to support the party, right, on the financial level. We took care of business on that level and got convicted of that as well, right? And so in 1972, they decided they're going to move me from California to New York to spend to fight a case that happened on May 21st, 1971. And so when I arrived in New York, they took me to what is called Old Queens facility, right? And there on the top floor, I ran into, or they brought me into an area where there's 2 or 3 other guys was there. One of the persons there was Imam Jamil Al Amin, and the other person was a brother by the name of Muhammad Ahmed, Max Sanford. Max Sanford and Muhammad Ahmed, Max Sanford used to be the leader of an organization called Revolutionary Action Movement, RAM. Then there's another guy there who's a notorious bank robber. I can't even remember his name, but he was just, he's just notorious bank robber. Okay, so I'm 22 years old, and I believe myself at that point in time, I consider myself a black communist, right? That was my ideology. That was my understanding of the struggle that we engaged in. And one of the things that I was impressed, of course, being in the company of both Muhammad Ahmed and Imam Jamil Al Amin, who for me were icons of our movement, icons in our struggle. At my young age, I was a young pup about taking care of business, right? And these were the guys who I looked for my ideological clarity, ideological understanding of our struggle. And one thing that I used to watch them do was pray, right? They get up in the morning 5 times a day and they make their prayers. And I wasn't understanding any of that, right? I say, man, y'all running around here giving your knees and praying. We're supposed to be trying to find a way to get the hell up out of here, man. We got to figure out how to escape, how to get out of here. Me being brash, me being, a young brother who's about the business. Okay, so we got into a debate, right, about the idea of religion or spirituality and the material world for which we lived in, because as you well know, the ideology of the so-called socialists and communists is one of material existence, right? They don't understand, or they don't adhere to an idea of metaphysics, right? That we are more than just our physical being, more than just this material world. So I used to argue with them, because like I said, I was young and I wasn't trying to hear none of that, that we're going to pray to God stuff to define our freedom. Okay. And so I, debated them, for about 6 months. I really had to get into why they believe what they believe, what changed them from what we understood black nationalism to be, right, to this idea of this Islamic prospects or Islamic spiritual foundation that enhances, what I've come to learn, enhances our nationalism and our revolutionary determination. So I've always been good at math, right, and always been good at science, right. In elementary school, I went to a high school scholarship program in science, and in high school, I went to a college scholarship program for mathematics, right. Matter of fact, a segue, John Carlos, in 1968 Olympics, we had his fist in the air with Tommy Smith. He used to be one of my math tutors back in high school. Yeah. One of my math tutors back in high school. That's the era that I was raised in. Okay, and so so anyway, Jamil and I, Imam Jamil and I, used to debate. Getting all kinds of arguments and debates about this thing. He was adamant in his position, and I was beginning to falter in mine and understanding both my belief, my faith in what he was telling me was the truth, okay, or had substance in truth. So one of the things that what came to my understanding in regards to our history and struggle, in particular for those of us who are resistors and those who have resisted, all of our leaders throughout history believe in the divine, believe in a God, right? Believe in something greater than themselves, right? That they were willing to sacrifice their lives, something greater than themselves. And when the belief that this life here is temporal, okay, and that the next life is everlasting, all right? So that was the story that was raised to me, right? So I began to understand from the great Nat Turner, Reverend Nat Turner, to Elijah Muhammad, to Muhammad, to Marcus Garvey, to Denmark Vesey, to Gabriel Prosser, to the Deacons for Defense, to Malcolm X, El Haj Malik Shabazz, to Martin Luther King, to Harriet Tubman. All of them believed in something greater than themselves. Okay, that inspired them, that motivate them, that keep them strong, right, in terms of their understanding of this life that we live, this incarnation that we call life. So as a result of that, right, I began to think otherwise in terms of this idea. Now, there's a book called Anti-During, right, by Frederick Engels, would argue the issues of metaphysics, right, against, because he was anti-During. During was metaphysical, right, and he was not. Okay, and that's one of the books that I had relied upon in my understanding. All right, so that was being torn apart, right, in many different ways. And one of the ways that was being torn apart is the idea of physics. Physics itself, right? Because we know in terms of physics, if you understand physics, that energy does not die, right? Energy transmute and transform, right? And so my understanding that when I said, well, what's going to happen with this existence that we now have that we call life, this energy we call life, what's going to happen when we expel from this material thing, this body that we have? Does this energy just dissipate into the ethers, into nothingness, right? Or do we bring consciousness with it, right? Do we move forward in terms of a next existence, right? An analogy that he gave me was, said, listen, man, so when you was in the womb, right, did you know anything about this world outside of the womb? I said, no, how could that be possible? Only thing I knew was inside that womb, that encased world that I was in. I said, exactly. All right. So how are you going to not deny? How are you going to deny what's going to happen after this? If you cannot say that this world is not any similar or not similar to the casing that you was in the womb, that this world is another womb for the next life. This is a transition to the next life.
I got to say something here really quickly.
Yeah, brother.
Because we revere the wombs who bore us, and I had the honor of meeting your mother. She was one of our inspirations on the outside, fight for y'all to get out on the inside. Just wanted to lift up Miss Billy. All right.
Thank you, brother.
Your mom. But go ahead, as you were.
Thank you, brother. Because, oh man,
yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I know that's right.
I appreciate that. Yeah, because it was at her feet that I learned to become the man that I am. You know what I mean? Because she's the one that told me, you're African. Okay. I was raised with that POV. Okay. Because she was a student of African dance as a young child, and she used to teach that to my sister and I. And her teacher told her that she's African, and that's what she told us. We Africans. You're not a Negro. You're not a coon. You're not an N-word. Not any other derogatory, inflammatory names that they imposed upon us. Right? You're African. So that was my POV growing up. Right, and I got all kinds of stories to talk about that, but nonetheless, back to Imam Jamil Al Amin. Thank you, brother, for acknowledging my beloved mom. She come to conclusion. She said, "I am the mother of Panthers."
Yes,
she took upon herself.
Yes, Lord.
Okay, so
yes.
So anywho, so the issue was, what is the next existence in terms of physics, right? And So I had to take what we call a Faustian compromise, right? Be damned if you do, be damned if you don't, right? And I said, listen, man, if I asked, I said, Imam Jamil, listen, if I make my shahada, my come Muslim, man, that means I can't fight no more, right? Because like the Christians, they say, you get slapped on the side of your face, man, to turn the cheek and get slapped on the other side of the face. I said, I ain't about that. They slap in my face, we're going at it. Okay. And they talk about love your enemy. I said, I can't love nobody, ain't gonna love me. Okay. So he said, no, brother. He said, no. Then he went to a passage in the Quran, ayat 2, Surah 2, ayat 191, but I believe it is. And it says that fight tumult and oppression wherever you may find it. The tumult and oppression is worse than slaughter. Right? That's all I need to hear. What? Fight tumult and oppression wherever you may find it. And tumult and oppression is worse than slaughter. I said, well, that's me. Okay, we can do that. Right? And that's when I decided to take my shahada and become a Muslim. Right? Wow. So that led me to that, to Islam. And then after that, I talked to Imam Jamil Al Amin, and then we worked on me adopting my name, Jalil Muntaqim. That's that history. Me and Muhammad Ahmed, we used to spar together, because he was down with that martial arts, right? Mm-hmm. So he's one of my martial arts teachers over the years that I've learned and studied martial arts from different people. Another individual taught me martial arts was a brother named Malik of the NOI 7, NOI, I think it was NOI 5, NOI 7. Back in the days, we was in the tombs together. Right. Yeah. And these brothers was about their business, man. And I had the gracious opportunity to spend some very precious time with them and learn from them. And as a result of that, it disciplined me. Right. It let me know what it would mean to have commitment. Right. And like in my book, I say commitment is a key. If you're not committed, then you're in the wrong business. Okay. You ain't supposed to be about this here. Right. You have to be committed, because this is life and death. All right. Or loss of your liberty. Okay. And so as a result of the experiences with Imam Jamil Al Amin, my experience with the Harlem Six, that's what they call, right? Imam Jamil Al Amin, with Muhammad Ahmed, with Brother Malik, and many others had encountered, and my growing, right, shaped and formed my thinking and strengthened me in my determination to survive 49 years inside this penal slave system, right? I think people really have to understand that the prison system in this country is in fact a slave system.
It is.
Right? 13 Amendment of the United States Constitution states slavery and involuntary servitude, except for those who have been duly convicted of a crime, shall not exist in the United States or its jurisdiction. So on the same paper, before the ink dried, ending chattel slavery, they instituted penal slavery, right? So there's a quick transition. This country has never not been a slave nation. There's never not been a slave nation. It is a slave nation. And that's the reason why we're confronted with mass incarceration. This is why we're confronted with school to prison pipeline. This is deliberate. This is policy, okay? To ensure that there is a system where we will continue to be challenged, right, by a system of slavery. And this is the reason why we are dehumanized, degraded, demeaned, devalued, right? Why in the world would we have to have a hashtag say Black Lives Matter? Who didn't know that? Who didn't know that Black Lives Matter? Hashtag movement, okay? Because of the way that we have been defamed and demeaned and degraded for 400 years. Now, let me also say this here. We are a traumatized people.
Indeed we are.
All right? And nowhere in the world, in 400 and something years of being dehumanized, being told you are inferior, that it has not had any kind of impact upon our lives, on our spirit, on our thinking of who we are. Right? Not only that, they named us. That's part of that trauma. Okay? Who do you name? My car, and I tell you this often, I name my car Harriet, right? Because I know Harriet gonna get me to where I got to go, give me the freedom where I need to go. Okay? So that's the name of my car. We name our property, right? We name our pets. They named us. They call us Negroes. What's Negro land? Right? From my understanding, the word Negro is derivative from the word negra, which means black. Okay? But I ain't Spanish. Right? And the trauma is that we accepted the name given to us by our enslavers. Right?
And there's a whole new body of work, and I want to try and bring Malcolm and the Imam in on what on the point that you're making. This whole thing about trauma. There's a whole movement of work called community-based violence intervention that is trauma-centered.
It's trauma-centered, yeah.
Brothers, come out, haven't done harm, clean themselves up, and are now back in the field. Which brings me to the name of somebody else too. I don't know if you knew him or not. Akil Bashir is a brother we just lost also. From the West Coast. Joined the party at 15, right? Yeah. Great martial artist and all those things that we associate with our tradition, and began to become, even after the those key years of the party was over, really began to use what he did as a Panther, and he also had NOI roots earlier than that too, to really begin to create processes to broker peace in our streets, right? And to put in place ways to train people to become brokers of peace in our streets. So I just throw that in on the question of how we're trying to actually intentionally deal with the question of trauma on these streets right now in a very real way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what I call decolonization.
Let me just jump in and ask you this too, right?
Yes,
I wanted to bring Malcolm into the conversation, but we just lost the Imam. And I can't tell you how angry I am, that we did, because in my judgment, I just think we should not have lost him in that way. Just shouldn't have, right? So I want you in the few minutes that we have left, in your own way, sum up the impact and the importance of his legacy and those things that we need to do for our remaining political prisoners. Right now, for instance, I'm a part of this 12-day, 108-mile trek from Philadelphia to Frackville. We just finished day number 8, doing day number 9 tomorrow to bring attention to Mumia's medical attention, right? So in those few minutes left, I need you to really lift up just who we lost.
Yeah.
In Imam Jamil, and how we should not lose Kamal Siddiqui, should not lose Mumia Abu-Jamal, should not lose Kenney Zulu Washington, and like that.
Okay. All right. Let me. I'm partial to an organization called the National Jericho Movement.
Of course, right? We helped start it. That's our baby.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Okay. We need to increase our support base for the National Jericho Movement. We have to establish a foundation for which we can highlight our political prisoners and our PPs, our POWs, right? Imam Jamil Al Amin, as you well know, evolved out of the SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. It became the Student National Coordinating Committee as it evolved. He then moved. And then he transitioned from that into becoming Minister of Justice for the Black Panther Party. And again, it's his evolution. He's evolving, right? And then at some point in time, he took the path of Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz and then became a Muslim. And as a result of his time, he did time in prison and came out of prison and established a neighborhood, a community that rid of gang violence, rid of drug addiction, cleaned up entire community, and built a base in west end of Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, and that made him a target. But not only that, there was at the time of right before the Iraq War, there was a group of national imams who created a council, right? And every year, a national imam, one of the imams would take the lead of this council. And there was a time, and people don't really put this in the context in my thinking, right? At the time of the Iraq War beginning to start, Imam Jamil Al Amin was going to be the national imam, right? He was being picked for the national imam across this country, right? And my thinking, that's one of the reasons why he was targeted. Not saying he was not targeted before. You got to keep in mind that he was the target from the time he made a presentation. I think it was in Cambridge, Massachusetts,
Yes.
where he, after he made his presentation, he left, right? And people had an insurrection. And they tried to blame the insurrection on him, although he was hundreds of miles away. And they brought up what they called the Rat Brown Law.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. That's right. Go ahead. You got it.
You see what I'm saying? So this kind of history. So he's always been targeted. But in as much as he's been targeted, he always continued to organize, right? Continue to build. As the Oakley marker, Kwame Ture said, what is our goal? Organize, organize, organize. All right? And that's what he was doing. So he became a target. And my thinking, he became a target because they wanted to remove him because they knew that he was going to lambast the United States, that he was going to denounce the United States if they had engaged in this war in Iraq, this filthy lying war that they committed in Iraq, killed over 1 million people within 6 months off a lie. They told the people that this man had weapons of mass destruction, and they know they didn't have it. And how we know he didn't have it? Because Colin Powell went to the United Nations and told him he was duped, right? That he was lied to. So my thinking is that they knew that Imam Jamil Al Amin would have been one of the people who were organized in the United States against that war, right? Rallied the Muslims against that war, right? And they had to target him and take him off the streets. Okay. We know that he was targeted not only in regards to his history of struggle under COINTELPRO, but we also know that he was innocent, right? Because someone had came and confessed to the crime, right? And the confession met the original
Otis Jackson, and it's right there on YouTube.
Yeah, national TV, on TV, right? Stated that he's the one that committed the crime. So that, in case for everybody, right? We know that he was innocent and that he was targeted. Okay, but even if has been targeted inside prison, he always maintained his own self-value, his own self-worth. I heard people say when they went to go visit him, he'd be asking them, "What can I do for you?"
That's exactly right. When we ride him, that's how he would come back to us. But
yeah. What can I do for you? You know what I mean? In terms of suffering. And so what we have to do, we have to build a mass and popular movement, right, in support of our political prisoners and our POWs. All right, we have to build and we have to get their stories out there, right, their narrative out there, so people can learn who they are. Listen, a brother by the name of Ojiri, right, he once stated, he said, any movement that's not supporting political prisoners is a sham movement. Okay, right. All right. So you got to support the political. Why? Because they represent the best of us. The best of us. They're the ones who wanted to put up their sacrifice, their life, and their liberty for our people. So why don't you support them, right? All right, that is a failure of our struggle and based on being able to build a momentum, a continuous momentum. Now, Jericho, we've been in existence for over 25 years. We started Jericho in 1998, right? It's still in existence, going strong today, right? Not as strong as I would like for it to be, of course, but that is reflective of our movement in totality. Our movement is not as strong as it should be. Okay, so we continue to make the incremental steps moving forward, like the spirit of Mandela, what we organize, and the national mobilization against genocide that we're going to have on July 4th, 2026 in Atlanta, Georgia, right? We're going to have a convergence of activists from across the country, progressive across the country, can converge on July 4th, 2026, so that we can begin the process of developing a network in defense of ourselves against this fascist entity that we are now confronting. So that's what we have to do. We have to rebuild, okay, and we have to establish greater cooperation and unity amongst our forces. One thing about capitalism is based on two principles, right? Competition and individualism, right? If you remove competition from capitalism, you don't have capitalism. If you remove individualism from capitalism, you don't have capitalism. So what is the opposite of those two? Cooperation and unity. We have to begin the process of building greater cooperation amongst our progressive forces across this country, right? And in so doing greater cooperation, we establish greater unity, right? And that is our strength, all right, to defeat this system of capitalist imperialism and white supremacy. All right, and this is that's one of the means and methods from which we can begin to demand our people release. Okay, if we can bring 100,000 people to Atlanta, Georgia, and next year, right? That's power. That's developing power. Now, the Democratic Party brought 7 million people in this thing they call No King's Day. I don't know what that was all about, But in either case, right, because this definitely wasn't in opposition to the system of capitalist imperialism, right? They identified a system, they identified an individual as the problem, right? No King's Day, and not the system as the problem. See, and that's the wrong narrative. That's the wrong theme. That's the wrong projection in our struggle. It is the system and not the individual. Okay, so because they can remove the individual and stick another individual in there, all right, and that's what they've been doing. Okay, so for us, is in terms of we have to build a mass and popular movement. Again, that's another chapter in my book. We're on liberators, building a mass and popular movement, and in so doing, we begin to find the means for which we can demand the release of our comrades inside prisons. Right, but one thing we cannot do, we cannot neglect them. Okay, we cannot leave them behind the wall. We cannot leave them in a system of slavery without demanding their release, right? And there's all kinds of ways that we can make that argument. Naturally, we want to fight for the brothers that you mentioned, Abu-Jamal, Mumia Abu-Jamal, for Kwame Siddiqui, Kamal Siddiqui, for Kwame Shakur, for Jojo Bowen, and Brother Malik, and there's many others that we have inside that we have to fight to release. Now, we have been successful in some, okay? We have been able to get Mutulu Shakur out before he passed. We were able to get Maroon out before he passed. We were able to get Suniyata out, and he's hanging on. All right, my beloved Suniyata, okay? And we were able to get Sekou, got me out, I like the way you brought that issue about Letitia James and how she tried to prevent me from, and she tried to kill me. That's what I'm gonna put it. I ain't gonna try to miss my words with that. You know what I mean? A judge had ordered me released, right? And she went to appeal it, and in the course of the appeal, I got COVID, right? I was in the hospital for 5 days on oxygen, and as a result of that, the court decided that that appeal is now moot, right? Because the issues for which I was originally brought the petition for was no longer needed because I got the COVID. Okay, so that's the reason why the judge ordered me so I wouldn't get the COVID. He ordered me temporary release so I wouldn't get the COVID.
Right.
Okay, so Letitia James, as far as I'm concerned, she tried to assassinate me. All right.
Let me just because we're up against the clock. I really wanted to put a pin on 2 things quickly before we leave you.
Yeah.
Because the hidden hand in all this in terms of our ancestors, of course, is Malcolm, and that's why we put that Spirit of Mandela tribunal together of 2021. I put that link in the chat for folks to look at that. We did that the weekend of October 22nd, which happens to be the National Day of Protest against Police Brutality. I had to leave a police brutality march in Jersey to open up the tribunal, if you can remember that.
I remember. You did a wonderful job too, comrade.
All of that work, right? And the fact of our work being faith-based as revolutionaries ain't nothing but the hidden hand of the ancestor that is Malcolm X. Let me give
one other point in regards to Imam Jamil Al Amin, right? I see Dr. Alverez there. Hey, bro, I like to see you, man. Looking good, though, man.
He's walking with us.
I see Johanna there too. Hey, sir.
All the way to the prison.
Yeah, I got you. But one thing that's important for us to understand is Imam Jamil Al Amin, how he emphasized the necessity for us to do the hard work inside ourselves. Okay. As you well know, the question of jihad is split in 2 ways: jihad Akbar and jihad Asghar. And in his book, Revolution by the Book, Imam Jamil emphasized the necessity for us to do the hard work to go inside ourselves and find our true humanity, right? And a true understanding, our common humanity, and build upon that understanding that we are a species on this planet, and as a species on this planet, we have a responsibility not only ourselves but also to the planet itself, right? In support or in our faith that there is a divine, right, and that we have to be responsible to our incarnation, to have been born into the existence, and then preparing to make a life better for the next generation to follow behind us. But in order to do so, we have to go inside ourselves. We have to become a better human being. We have to go into our cult, or what's called the heart, right, and strengthen that heart and feel that emotion, feel that love that we have for one another and the love for our people.
Now, tell everybody also, because I've been hyping up We Are Our Own Liberators, your book and how to get it. Right, and the first thing folks do, they do with the online sources that are not conventional sources for the kind of books like yours. How can folks get where We Are Our Own Liberators? Where is it at?
They need to go to blackdragonmme.com.
And that is your own publication arm.
Yes,
right?
Yes. blackdragonmme.com. And get it directly from me. You ain't got to worry about no second party, no taxes to anybody else, and any of that. Right? And that money, for the most part, much of that money goes into the work of our political prisoners, support of our political prisoners. Okay? That's what we do. Right? We have to create new revenue streams in our struggle. We're fighting against billionaires. Right? We're fighting against billionaires with cake sales. Come on now. We got to do better than that. We got to figure out ways how to get.
Well, now Harriet might smack you in the head because she rocked the sweet potato pie that people used to kill for.
Okay. I go for that.
Ed, ask Jalil a ritual question to take him out. You can hang out if you want with us, Jalil, for this next conversation. But I want to respect your time and respect your queen's time.
No. Dr. Alverez, we go back a long ways. And I know that he's going to handle it because he's a beloved comrade, and anything he says, I know come out the mouth of Mumia Abu-Jamal. So that's all real right there.
Yesterday too.
That's a fact.
Right on. So Ed, ask the question real quick, and we'll jump to the next segment.
I can't hear you, brother. You can do it.
Ed is our founder.
Sorry about that. So we are a political hip hop radio talk show. Let me ask you a question, my brother. Throughout that entire struggle in that dungeon, and then of course being on the streets now, what are you listening to that keeps you motivated and keeps you moving, brother, with Black Power?
With Black Power.
Did you hear the question, my brother?
I did. I'm an aficionado of jazz, bro.
That's all right.
Okay,
I'm a jazz poet.
And old school jazz, so the Miles Davis, the John Coltrane, the Dexter Gordons, and Thelonious Monk. You know what I mean? I'm a jazz aficionado. Now I do like some hip hop. I do like some some rap and stuff like that. I ain't with that gangster rap, because one thing I loathe is the B word, right, and the N word, and and kill black folks. You know what I mean? The corporate rap and stuff like that. I ain't with that, and I ain't trying to get. And the problem is that these kids, they listen to that all day. They wake up in the morning with it, they go to bed with it. It's a loop in their minds. It's a loop in their head. So I can't support anything that's in my thinking is self-destructive.
No.
I'm sure there are some Talib Kweli.
There you go.
There's some
there you go.
Roots. Dead Prez. Those are people that came in the movement. Yeah, those are the ones that inspires me. Right. That moves me forward. Back in the days, it was just the last poets.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, I appreciate that question. And one of the things that I would love for us to really deal with is getting these rappers to support the movement. Yeah. All right. Right now,
that's a charge Asada gave some of us back in the 90s, and we actually had a minute with what we call Black August hip hop back then.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, absolutely. That was fantastic, right? And we need to figure out ways how to resurrect that. Listen, I see my dear beloved Doc and Johanna. They sitting on the edge, ready. They want to bite at the they ready to go. Okay, so let me get up out of here, brother, comrade. All right,
Thank
man.
you, brother.
Listen, man, love you, man.
Love
Appreciate
you
the
back. Love you
opportunity.
back. Love
Right?
you. Right.
Tell people, say the national mobilization against genocide, July 4th, 2026, Atlanta, Georgia. Be there or be square.
Yes, sir. Hold a date, get ready, get your ticket, get your train, whatever how you get there. If you ain't there, you're gonna miss it. All right. Great brother. Great. Oh man, you have no idea how that meant. I've been wanting to do something with him since he got out. And we just never had the chance because he came out running. He came out running. Now I'm trying to now. We're looking at the space, the air between Dr. Ricardo Alverez and there you go. There's Joanne. I want to see both of you as y'all sharing the same laptop. I see what's happening. Y'all got Doc laptops. Ricardo Alverez has been with us before, but he's back today as we are reporting in straight from the field where we are in this long march for Mumia Abu-Jamal. We just finished day 8, but before we got to day 8, Dr. Alverez, who comes all the way from the West Coast, then that is the best coast to participate in this gathering and see his patient Mumia Abu-Jamal, got to see him yesterday, right? And with him is one of the young organizers of this particular phenomena. And I'm very proud of Johanna Rahman. Everybody knows Johanna Fernandez. We got 2 Johannas. We got Johanna Rahman, young organizer straight out of Philly who's coming. And I've said this to them, and I'm going to say this on the air to our audience, is that in terms of the forces doing this work that make up the international movement, the free Mumia Abu-Jamal, our toughest work has been breaking ground in the city of Philadelphia and the state of Pennsylvania. But since that George Floyd summer, we got some young bloods that's coming. It's coming. And this is one of them right here. And she's also got a background in public health like Dr. Alverez does. So I wanted to have them together on this. Doc, let's start with you because you're the elder and you got all the juice, right? And you just had a chance to see the man who we're raising hell for. Tell us just about that visit. How is Mumia Abu-Jamal? And then sum up for us, the urgency of this moment with his health and what that means for other prisoners and why we're doing this walk.
First, I just want to take a second to just honor Jalil. Jalil was so generous with his time. I mean, it was over a year, just committed time, working with me in understanding the concepts of institutional elder abuse. And I just want to share that one of the things that Mumia had counseled him on. We were talking about one of his speeches, which I thought was so brilliant. I was sharing it with Mumia, and Mumia was like, he's got to hit him with a love sandwich. Just come in. He comes every time he starts his speech. He says greeting in every language. I just think it's so beautiful. He's like, I am coming here in relationship to humanity. If your language says greetings in this language, that language, he is saying it all. So he starts off with that sandwich with his love. Then he breaks it down historically. He is bringing facts and reality to it. And then he closes with love. And Mumia is reminding him, don't forget to close it with the love too. So he's been very generous. And he's one of the elders that has really, framed the analysis along. We also want to acknowledge the work of Jose Saldana and Laura Whitehorn at RAP. They have been absolutely primary in framing an analysis of elder abuse through released aging persons in prisons in New York State. And they've done that for decades. And they've done that hard work. So all the comments that we share now are in relationship to what Mumia describes really as the ecosystem of abolition. And what we're finding now is that Mumia speaks about when you walk, it's not what you see before you, it's what's below the root systems and the connections of the root systems that we must pay attention to. And within the ecosystem, within that rich soil of abolition, we see a rich connection where the ends of the root systems are being connected by what we call the mycelium. And Mumia has counseled me to work with other griot prisoners, artist prisoners here in California. And in some ways, it's funny because I could be on a call with C-Note or Johan, and they'll say, yeah, good mycelium, which is like the greatest honor in doing abolition work, And these are concepts that are that Mumia teaches us so that we understand that there is connection outside of physical contact. And I have to tell you, if there's one message Mumia is giving, he feels it. He feels it in ways he makes clear. There are no prison walls, no number of gates that can keep him from feeling the energy of our march and our love. He is very spiritual and metaphysical around understanding what it means to be in relationships to forces that are distorted forces seeking to maintain an origin myth of freedom, but in reality, operating out of the soul wounds of genocide and slavery. So it is just a delight to bring to him what I consider what he calls mana, which is that spiritual food of this rich connection that we have and the camaraderie and strength and love that we're showing in our march for him. He feels it. He is so grateful, and it gives him strength.
So now, just remind everybody, just what's happening with his health. What's at stake here? Why is it so important for us to turn up the volume to the extent that we were doing exactly what we're doing with this long march for him? Why is it so urgently important?
Yes. One of the things that we're doing is we're shifting the narrative around Mumia, using a tactic that Jalil Muntaqim identified as using the language of the oppressor. And in that regard, what we principles of trauma-informed care, I self-identify as his trauma-informed medical consultant. And I want to be clear, I have no legal status as his physician. I'm a medical consultant. But I also want to be clear that Mumia is his own healer. So we do negotiate sometimes, like, Mumia, I really need to make clear this medication, this is how it works. This is where, this is what I want. I can work with you on this. This is really important. But he is grounded in a sense of his self-healing. His discipline is remarkable. His capacity to combine the physical body, the elliptical. I mean, if some of the young people want to work with him, if he's doing his, he's like, walk with me. You want to talk with me? Walk with me. That's how we're going to go around. If we're outdoors in the yard, or if he's doing his exercise regimen, got his music on, he's in his world, he makes sure that he maintains his health. However, there is also absolute court-documented evidence to the harms of the organs of his body. He has liver cirrhosis because they denied him effective hepatitis C therapy, knowing that he was going to be harmed by it. And they used the criteria that was essentially his being on the deathbed before he could get it, which was violating basic Western medical principles of what is the right criteria for intervention. Instead of using it preventively, they were basically denying it. Now what's happened, and he was also put into a diabetic coma. He's had congestive heart failure, for which he needed open heart surgery. He was put in 4-point restraints. So he has had multiple harms of the medical system. And what's happening now? He has glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, and he's had post-cataract complications. Some of these conditions can be simply treated with a 5-second laser procedure. He's had one laser procedure. He still has another that's due, potentially others, and he needs both the immediate laser procedure as well as proper maintenance. Now, one of the blessings we have in the movement is to have an ophthalmologist consultant who happens to be a professor of medicine and has worked in the prison system. And Baba Zaid, when that consultant was asked, if Mumia were in your office on a Friday, what would you do? And she said, I would have him cared for on a Monday. And that is
And
why
of course, that didn't happen.
not
right?
only did that not happen, but what we're finding is there's something called the Mumia effect. Just as he was able to expand hepatitis C treatment and expose the failings of healthcare in prison settings, which is really a contradiction. You can't provide proper elder care in prison settings. So too, he's now exposing through that tedious process of the denial of care and the documentation and getting consultants and doing denials, which is work on his part, right? This is his livelihood, his site. He's exposing what is a contract with a contract with a corporation, which is a for-profit corporation, for which they hire people whose licensing levels and technician skills are basically diagnosing upon diagnosing and just delaying what is effective treatment. Now that's being exposed as well. But we're not going to wait until he gets liver cirrhosis. We're not going to wait until he gets diabetic coma. We're not going to wait until he's blind.
Right.
And this is his livelihood. He lives, breathes books, and he's an intellectual. He's a public intellectual. He's our brother, and he must be returned to us. Our fight is in transition to freedom, because freedom is the only treatment from a public health perspective. And speaking of public health perspective, this beautiful young student is his training in public health.
Yes, she is.
Fully understands these concepts of public health in relationship to defense of our community.
So let's segue, right? And I'm going to ask her the question, and I'm going to ask you both the same question. You know, in American lexicon of, you know, parents and kids and kids being real different, what is a nice young lady like you getting caught up in all this kind of radical stuff is, right?
Wow.
You got all these schools and degrees and things, and you're getting caught up with all these radicals, or you know, what is you? Are you driving your mother and your father crazy? Tell me, what is it about this Mumia guy? What?
Yeah, sure. So firstly, peace, blessings, hello, salam to everybody. My name is Johanna. I am a doula by training, a youth worker, and an organizer based out of Philadelphia. I just want to echo what, Dr. Alverez said. As somebody who has studied public health, we're rarely ever taught to approach issues from an abolitionist or revolutionary perspective. Instead, we're taught to look at things from the surface level, treat them superficially, not examine the root of the cause, right? And so when we examine the issue of aging prisoners and prisons in general, we have to remember that if we want to transform these institutions that are causing harm into life-affirming institutions, the only solution is to free them, right? And that is key, and that is critical. So I just want to echo what Dr. Alverez says. But a little bit about me, I got started as a student organizer at Temple University with Students for Justice in Palestine. I'm not originally from Philadelphia, but I did grow up in New York and Jersey. And so when I came to Philly, I was...
Where you grew up in that Jersey? Where you at Jersey? Because, this is Jersey.
Like West New York, real close to Hoboken, Union City. But when I, tapped into student organizing, I was really hungry to get involved in the city, get involved in local work, because student organizing ends at some point, right? And so it's really important to tap into the community. And I understood as a college student on Temple University, Temple played a huge role in the gentrification of North Philadelphia and pushing out Black families and erasing Black history in the area.
Now, let me stop you for a second, because Black folks don't think of Temple like that. They think of the Africana Institute. They think of Malefica Sante, and they think of all of that stuff in that little island inside that big monster that is the gentrifier that you just described.
Yes.
Right? Temple sits right in the heart of the Black community, and what you're talking about we needed to stick a pin in that. Keep going.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And so I was very hungry to tap into the local community and to really embed myself in Philly because I understood my role as a student and what it meant to be a college student on campus in North Philly. And so I started tapping into local community, and that's when I learned about the Move bombing at 21 years old. I learned about, John Africa and the Move family and Mumia. And that really shaped the way I was brought into politics, the way I was radicalized, because at the time, a lot of police murders were happening. Trayvon Martin had been murdered, Eric Brown, or Eric Garner, Michael Brown. And so I came, to consciousness. I think, as a brown Muslim woman, a child of immigrants, I always had a sense of, something's not right in the world, but I didn't necessarily have the language for it. And so learning about Mumia, reading, I remember when I read Live from Death Row, right? It just had such an impact on my consciousness. And Mumia is our North Star. He talks about Palestine. He talks about
Yes.
he talks about all of these things. And he's so excellent and sharp at connecting all of the dots. And that really helped me to develop the language and to reach that level of consciousness that I needed to reach to be here today. And I'm so grateful to Mumia's work, to his, his teachings, his literature, everything that he's put out into the world, and the impact that he's had on me and young folks and other comrades that are in my generation. He is just a brilliant human being. And so that's why I'm here today, because I believe in not only his freedom, but the freedom for all incarcerated individuals, all oppressed peoples all over the world. And that's exactly what he's been talking about for decades.
Let me tell you something, and I'm trying to say this in an open way, and I want each of you to respond to it. And I'm sure some of you heard part of what Jalil mentioned in some of his outgoing remarks about trauma. One of the most difficult aspects of organizing the support that we've organized for Mumia in particular over the years is building support locally in Philadelphia and in the broader state of Pennsylvania, right? Particularly among our people, in our community, right? And I have to tell folks, and I had to remind myself even periodically, because it's tough, trying to get folks to, like say, yeah, I'm all right, I'm with this, I'm with y'all, because that bombing of Friday, May 13th, 1985 was unprecedented in the trauma that it released on our community, right? So when that George Floyd summer came and y'all started coming, you'll have no idea how much of an answer to a prayer that you have been, but you also, and I want you to appreciate this from a public health perspective, Dr. DeB, right? That you are also a part of your community's healing by virtue of your emergence and breaking through that shared trauma that community has faced. The Johanna Rahmans are becoming a new North Star to help us so we can heal and then come up out of that pain. Doc, I know you want to jump in on some of that.
I definitely want to honor that. First, I want to just say, like, if we think historically, in the last quarter century, and probably in the last 40 years, medicine has been profoundly changed. Now there are more women physicians than there are male physicians. And what we're seeing now is a language of trauma-informed care. We're seeing a language of institutional distrust. We're understanding generational trauma. That didn't exist before. Women have been instrumental. I mean, just look at who Mumia surrounds himself with. Women warriors. I mean, you have Noel holding it down, bringing his voice out. Johanna.
Y'all miss Safia Bukhari.
Yes.
Right? Was in that BLA with Jalil, right? Oh, yes.
And of course, Johanna Fernandez is literally allowing us to do work with Mumia where we make it clear to those we're communicating with, when we speak to you, you are at the crossroads of history, because he is the foundation of the Brown University archives on mass incarceration. He anchors that archive as a living being. That was Johanna Fernandez's work. And then I also want to say, in the triumvirate the triumvirate of his women warriors, Mumia calls Mona and Mama Pam the Avatar. Mama
Better
Pam.
believe it.
Mama Pam has brought a message to the movement that is so absolutely clear. It is a love story. And I just want to say, in reference to Johanna in the next generation, she's a birth doula. Can you imagine her holding and bringing that life in and supporting that life coming in and doing that generational healing at that point where
Absolutely.
a soul incarnates on earth? What a gift it is to us to have her there that way.
And reclaiming our traditions in the name of our culture and spirituality.
Yes, yes. It's just a beautiful thing to see that that consciousness is of heart and mind, and then to be able, as Jalil says, to speak the language of the oppressor, to have that training and use that as a means of engaging institution and speaking in a centered way from our hearts of our love for Mumia, to say, he does not belong to you. The politics of vengeance is over. Bring him home.
Did he mute himself? Oh, Glow, you finished. Okay, I thought you muted yourself. Yeah. So, yeah, y'all on fire. Johanna, you didn't think you was gonna get all this love and attention tonight, did you?
No, I definitely was not expecting it. I'm a very much a behind the scenes person. This is my first time ever on a podcast. I'm honored here. It is a privilege to be here. But this is definitely not my speed. But nonetheless, I appreciate being here. And the one thing that I've been reflecting on daily is, every day of this march, every mile, every step, every day, I'm just in complete awe. This march embodies perseverance, it embodies solidarity, it embodies commitment, what it means to fight for liberation. And the core group, as you know, because you two are in the core group, it's all elders. And I'm truly understanding what it means to walk among giants, right? Elders who have paved the way for a better world, for my generation, for me. And so I owe it to the elders, to my elders, all the elders, my ancestors. And the reason why I'm here today is because of y'all. And so, I honor that. And I want to embody that because I see day in and day out what it means to fight when you show up. And that is everything to me. And that shows me that, a better world is possible. I'm 34 years old, but the world in this lifetime for me, what I've lived through is the worst, right? It's like the world's on fire and it feels like nothing's getting better and we're not, the needle is not moving. But I see, what you all have done, and I'm standing alongside you, I'm marching alongside you, and I'm able to witness and see that there is hope for us. It's so hard. I mean, it's so easy to become defeated and demoralized in, what's going on with the world right now, but it is profoundly special. And it's very hard to articulate and verbalize because it's something you feel in your spirit. It's spiritual to be alongside, both of you and all the other elders and do this day in and day out because we're trekking I haven't been here every day, but y'all have trekked through snow, sleet, ice. It's freezing. We got our first slur of the march today. We're encroaching on increasingly hostile territory. And so to see that unwavering commitment, to see that strength, and like there is no fear. And it's just, it means so much. And it's what I want to give to the next generation. But you all have paved the way. You have set the bar. You have set the example. And so that's also largely, that's the primary reason, that I'm here, that I want to do this work, because you all are the inspiration. And I'm eternally grateful to, all the elders.
Well, I'm going to tell you on behalf of the elders, I want to thank you for that. But I also want to add, we need some help in this way, and you can. This is where your help and your thought and your presence is especially important because, if you had to say something to the elder organizers when this thing is over, right? What would you say to them about next steps in keeping the young people who you've involved to stay involved and to continue to be able to effectively reach the young people so we can really make this thing build out the way it should for this particular historical moment?
That's a great question. I think this has been a good first step. This has been an intergenerational organizing effort, this march alone. So that makes me feel very hopeful because at least in the organizing spaces that I've been, it's not something that you see frequently, but I think it's so important for us to hear these stories, right? All this time that I've spent with everyone on this march, I've been able to hear, I marched 600 miles from Maine to New York. Like, these are not things that you necessarily hear about, that aren't always in the storybooks or the history books, but it's important for us to spend that time and really get to know each other's stories. It's so different when I'm reading a book or when I'm reading about the Panthers versus when I'm meeting a Panther and I'm hearing those stories orated, right? And I'm feeling that energy. And so I think we just have to make an effort. And I think it's a combination of the elders and the young folks, getting together, maybe doing town halls, like just building camaraderie, sharing what we have both been through with each other. And once you relationship builds, I feel like things move seamlessly from there. But I think the biggest thing is just relationship building, getting to know each other, sharing our stories. Like, what were your struggles like? What did you do that worked, that didn't work? Similarly asking the younger generation, what are you doing now? What do you feel like is working? What do you feel like is not working? How can we support you? So having a reciprocal relationship and building those you use a beautiful analogy about the ecosystems and nature. So just rooting those relationships, building those really strong ties.
Awesome. Well, let me just give you some things to look forward to in terms of stories and whatnot. You're in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is one of our most radical cities, and I know we got a terrible case of house Negroes, and we got some serious, ugly expressions of state repression, and what happened to Mumia and what happened to Move are classic examples of that. But the Philadelphia chapter of the party is a story that is underappreciated, right? The way that chapter was targeted, much like New York was targeted because of its strategic location in a big metropolitan space on the East Coast, right up under all of the pretty trappings of the modern nation state and the capitalist superstructure. We right in the belly of the beast for real, right? And then as next year marks the 60th anniversary of the party, and one of the things that Philly was particularly targeted for, now you hear me often talking about the epic call for a national coalition against fascism that the party did in '69. The next step for that was supposed to be the Revolutionary Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, right? And the powers that be did not want to see that happen, and they gave Panthers in that town hell. That famous picture of the police got the brothers stripped down to their shorts and whatnot, that didn't come out of the sky. That came from a real place in struggle. And there were 5 offices in Philadelphia, right? Philadelphia with no feeder chapter like how we saw in Jersey, because Jersey's in between the 2 big cities, right? It was quite a story, and not many of them left. So these stories with those who we have left are important to be had, and the stories that are making up the makeup of your generation are important to be heard, so that dialectic, and I'm using material language to speak on something that we're talking about in the spiritual way, so that dialectic can indeed happen, and y'all get from the old heads what you need, and we make ourselves available to make sure that we do that, so y'all can move forward. So that's something to look forward to, right? Because January is year 60, and it's going to be stuff. And if we don't see things happening, we should make them happen.
Absolutely.
That's what got me going when I was a young man. There was a dearth of organizing in this tradition in my community at the time, so I started some stuff, right? And it caught fire after the book party we did for Asada way back in 1988. So yeah, with that. So give us some highlights, each of you, about what has happened on along the way. We've had some press, we've met some incredible people, right? Some highlights, some tidbits on how the march is going.
Well, you marched the whole way today, so I'll let you start off.
We march the whole way every day.
Yes, that's
yeah.
true.
Our always we've been right up front. Ain't no doubt about that. We got to bear witness.
Yeah, we definitely, one of the things. First of all, there's so much love on this march, and one of the running jokes is we're such old heads that the one of the biggest commodities is the Epsom salt and the arnica gel. That gets passed around.
I just used a little bit I had left.
But I will say this. There has been a remarkable sense of just alignment. How many people have shown up, conversations have happened, things have happened. I could give example after example of that. Moments where, the snow was falling, it's running late, and, there's a mailbox in the middle of nowhere, and it says, with God, all things are possible. I'm looking at and Mama Pam calls right when I'm at the mailbox. I mean, that kind of stuff is happening a lot. We had the supermoon just the other night, and that was, I saw Mumia yesterday. He had beautiful messages around coming back and talking about the importance of relationship. And I also want to just say something else that's happened is downstairs, we were just sharing meals. Meals have been, our supporters have come and catered beautiful meals to give us strength and support. Cindy's come out and, brought meals that are home cooked, driving up. There's all that kind of stuff happening. So that's the flavor of it. When we translate it to media, wow, we were just hearing an article read just about 20 minutes ago from the
Republican Herald.
The Republican Herald up in, what is it called?
Reading or Schuylkill County.
Schuylkill County. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they straight up were giving an analysis of the politics of vengeance. I mean, it was amazing. They never use the word cop killer. And we make it clear, we consider that hostile. It was just remarkable. They literally gave our itinerary so much, like they will be going here, they will be going there. We were joking, like if we need to know where we're going, we're just gonna pull up the Republican, I mean, and it was front page, right? We had the same thing happening with the Reading. And when we speak at the press conferences, we're making it clear. You as a journalist, he is your colleague, and that's shifting. That's creating openings and opportunities. So I want people to understand this truly is a historical moment for us.
Yes.
Indeed it is. Go ahead, Johanna.
For me, so much. I'm not even sure where to start, but I think the things that really stick out are, I consider myself a relationship builder. So all of the relationship building that is happening, particularly with the elders, just hearing the stories. I love history. I love hearing about what, people have done, where they've been, where they see themselves going. And so the relationship building that's happening with the marchers, but the relationship building that's also happening with the community that's showing up. So Evelyn Marston, who was the president of the Reading chapter of the Panthers, who showed up. The folks, the Reading residents who showed up, and one of them recognized me because we had met at a rally months prior. The folks that are, honking on the side of the road and pulling over and saying, I did time with Mumia.
Oh man,
F block or wherever for X amount of time. Like all of these stories and exchanges that are being shared that are so powerful, that are so grounding, that are reminding us why we are, marching towards this. And yeah, those are the big things. But I love being here with y'all. I love doing this work. It's just full of joy, of liberatory spirit, of love, not fear, right? So it's a very beautiful moment. It is profoundly special. It's really hard to verbalize if you're not here. So if you're not here, come try to join before the march is over. Sign up on the website, y'all. But yeah, there are so many.
It's in the chat. Mm-hmm.
Yes. But those are the I guess the two big things that stick out for me.
Awesome. And meeting Sister, and one of the things that Sister Morrison did was profound and true to who she is. Not only is she an activist pastor, but true to her cause. She found out about it, used her contacts and her leverages, got on the phone right away and got into the lieutenant governor's office about this whole question, right? And we got to follow up with her to build some more support out in all in that town where she is and her base and all those other bases where we have gotten some support. And that's the thing that we've been talking about, that we've got to we the international support has been crazy good.
Yeah.
I mean, from the Mandelas of the land to streets being named in France after Mumia. I mean, the international stuff has been incredible, and it has made a difference in saving Mumia's life. We need to make that real plain, right? And but the thing that's ultimately, I think, they're going to get us to the finish line of bringing him home, right? Is this building out right here in these spaces where either we've had overt hostility by virtue of the racist narrative of the press and the police, and of course all the trauma that has been visited upon our people by virtue of that goddamn bombing and all these racist ass police beating our behinds and killing us, right? So right on. That's why we march.
Exactly.
Right? I hope that's plain to everybody. As we wind down, the brother who just popped in on the screen is our founder, right, and our leader in the space, the great Ed Riley, right, and he's got his own Philly stories, right. Ed and I both, y'all see me warming up and I'm moving my hands and whatnot, but this guy actually, won the Golden Gloves here in Jersey, turned pro, and did a lot of his work right there in the Cloverleaf gym of Joe Frazier, and wound up becoming a lawyer. Wound up becoming a lawyer.
Love it.
That's crazy.
Huh?
Love it.
How many
Love
ex-fighters? I ain't got nothing but ex-teeth. I ain't become nothing, right? But then became a lawyer. You have no idea how proud we are of this brother, right? But Ed is getting ready to ask you a ritual question that we ask all of our guests on the show. He might have some other questions to ask to you too, because I know you've been taking notes of what we talk about. Go ahead, Ed. Jump on Ed. Did he freeze? Oh man. Yeah.
He's muted.
I think Zaid is absolutely right. I've been listening in intently, popping in and out, but got speakers on in here all over the place. I can hear it in every room. But I think that one of the things I wanted to ask you, my brother, is that when did you get an opportunity when you saw Mumia? Did you get an opportunity to feel his vibrations about how he's feeling spiritually about everything?
Yes. And let me also say, I have to be really cautious. There's some times where Mumia says things that are so deep. I have to, as soon as I come out, I just look around me to see there's a tree I pray to before I come in. And I was taught by the chief of the Miwa people, Chief Philip and Chief Jay. And we make sure to do that prayer. I just do a quick prayer, which is all my daily prayers. I'm always touching plant life and doing my prayer. And I do it outside the prison. They know me now that I do that. I do it on the way out. When I come out, I look for the life around me, see if there's dear life, and just, see the messages.
Yeah.
But I'm right on my computer to try to download. And this is the first time ever he called me right after the visit. Right now, you got to understand what it means. You understand the violence of just having a visit. A prisoner has to go through the violence of the search, and there's all the logistics of getting to a phone. And he called me right after the visit, and he was saying, I feel it like a wave. It's a wave of love, of like a river. I mean, and I'm actually having to process that and send it back out. And I'm going back to Mumia. Did I get this right? Did I get, and he's like, yeah. He said, I trust you. But yeah, you got it right. But then he'll expound on it. And we had a rich conversation around the movie Sinners and the griot and the music opening that veil that compresses time and space. We were having a rich conversation around us being at the crossroads in our own sense, around the language that said, because I remember him saying, once I was talking to him, and I said to him something about your freedom, and he paused, looks at me, and he says, it's your freedom.
Mm.
And I was sharing with Baba Zaid, there's times where 3 words will change your life because, it was just so clear. If this is happening to him, it's our freedom. We do this for our freedom. And it just energetically shifts things. And when he talks about that, he talks about what it's being like. He says in capitalism, they want you to think that the currency is money, but true currency is rooted in relationship.
Wow.
And when you come into when you're at the
That's good.
crossroads, and abolition is fundamentally a spiritual experience because it is liberatory. That's what it is all about, is liberation, which is it has to be a spiritual experience because you got to start in, like Baba Zaid was saying. Oh, actually, it was
Jalil.
Jalil was talking about the jihad inward, and that's
jihad is the struggle against one's own factories.
Yes, and he's saying when you're at that crossroads, right? It's not man-made law you're going to be dealing with. It's a spiritual experience. You're in relation to Creator. The creative force of love is the driving force of human connection, not just to other humans, but to all life. I was sharing with him the animals that came, the dogs that came, the 3-legged dog Rumi. I was sharing with him about Honey Bear. And I was sharing with him, remember the movement dogs? Remember?
Yes.
That dog, Julie, letting him hear that these are movement dogs. They come, they touch our souls, they heal us. He's teaching us at that crossroads. He said, when you meet your Creator at that crossroads, because we are facing choices in our lives now in this chaos. He says, you're not gonna be pleading the First Amendment. You're gonna be talking about humanity. So it was just, this is where he's at. He's like teaching and teaching and teaching at this very elevated level around what it means metaphysically to feel the energy and movement and find openings from a place of connection. Did I answer your question?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, that's because I think that's one of the things that I think is helping him get through.
Yes.
Right. I think spiritually he's gone someplace else. Yes. And I think the operative word for me is relationship.
Yes.
Right. And and I think that's what's important, because 2 things I've heard you say, which was important. One is obviously relationship from Mumia, but that word alignment, right, is really important, because when you become in alignment with something, you're operating with that one force, right? Yes. And I think that I'm clear that Mumia is absolutely operating on a whole nother spiritual plane right now. And the way he's able to survive, the way he's able to move forward is that he's operating in another spiritual realm. And that's why I asked you that question, because I mean, there's no way you could have gotten through all that he's gotten through without that. Right. So I mean, I'm really impressed that the brother's doing well, and that he's holding on to his spirituality, and that he's doing his best to keep himself healed. But we are a hip hop political radio talk show, and so our question, I don't know if you heard it, we asked the other brother, what is it that you all might be listening to out there that keep you all strong, keep you all moving, keep you all fired up, and able to get up every day and walk. So if there's anything y'all listening to on the hip hop side, share with us. Now, keep in mind, we don't listen to all that drill music and all that killer music ourselves. We're revolutionary, so we're listening to what's strong, what's black, and what's powerful ourselves. But what are you all listening to?
This doesn't quite count as hip hop, but I'm listening to Quran recitations at the moment. As
do you have a favorite ayat in surah?
Wow. Probably Surah Ad-Duha. It's recited in times of difficulty, when life has you down and out and you're unsure and you don't know what the outcome is going to be. You recite that for clarity, for grounding, for certainty, for reassurance. And so, you know, thinking of Mumia, thinking of Kamal Siddiqui, thinking of Shinakli in Texas, and all these other aging and ailing incarcerated folks, just really trying to get in touch with the creator, right? Keep myself grounded and keep them in my thoughts, in my steps, in my breaths, in my body, and just carry them with me every step of the way. So that's what I'm listening to. But outside of that, just instrumentals. I'm really trying to ground my, you know, my nervous system. So things that are soothing, things that are just like easy on my heart.
Let me give you several suggestions, just as something for you to vibrate on for yourself in that realm. Because, you know, you just heard Jalil talk about jazz, and I've got a background in jazz too. Yusef Lateef, Pharoah Sanders, and of course the immortal John Coltrane, who was the father of the spiritual revolution in jazz. Right? Those are some places that will speak to this your spirit and to our traditions. Right? And to our traditions. I think you'll have quite a time vibrating on some of that if you want to go instrumental land. Right? Doc, your turn.
Well, again, I'm going to have to confess it's probably not going to be hip hop, but I really love listening to Leon Bridges. I've just been getting into it, and, you know, just letting that playlist just go, and also listen to some of the Philly sounds. There's a lot of times, like, you know, the wake up everybody, I love you
in the grass, in the
yeah, you know, yeah. So yeah, I think those are some of the recent influences that. But again, it's probably not hip hop per se, but it's music, and Mumia speaks so much about music, the importance of music. But I enjoy that.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely in a town. When I was down there, you know, back in the late 70s and early 80s, I mean, Philadelphia was ablaze, man. You know, with Philadelphia International Records, and you know, and I had an opportunity to get to know Gamble and Huff, and some of those producers who were in there, and had an opportunity to see all those people create that magic. I wasn't, you know, I was around, but, you know, I wasn't at Motown, but I was at the Sound of Philadelphia. And, you know, having an opportunity to train at Philadelphia's gym and to live in Philadelphia and so forth. I mean, it had a whole nother Black Power spirit all of its own, man. And the music was all part of that. You think about all the music that was coming from Philadelphia at that time. I mean, it was incredible, man. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, I mean, you know, you guys, man, being down there is amazing, and that vibration, that spirit, and all that music and culture. I was down there 2 weeks ago, and I was just walking around. You know, I was just walking around Broad Street, man, just walking around Center City, and then, you know, just was like, wow, man.
Sunday afternoon.
This place was a whole nother place for me, man. You know. So listen, man, good luck to you all on that walk, and thank you all for coming on tonight. And
y'all got to eat. I ain't get a chance to eat yet.
No, we're running down now. And you as well, right?
Yes, sir. Right. All right. I'll see y'all in a few.
We saved the plate for you.
Thank you so much for
Love
having
not
us.
fear. Thank
Love
you so
not
much
fear.
for
Free
having us.
movie. Abu-Jamal.
Free 'em all.
All right,
Free 'em
brother.
all.
Free 'em all.
Good stuff. Great stuff. Great stuff. And look who's back. And I'm glad you got on too, because I know what you're dealing with on these streets with us. Right? When our founders, right, and one of my favorite soldiers over a whole lot of years, and a teaching legend inside the city of Newark, New Jersey, by virtue of his love for his students, not just in his classroom, but in their lives and in their community. Bashir Muhammad Bata Akayele is back and just came from a heavy meeting that I know you want to get in on and tell us about. What's going on, beloved? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can everyone hear me?
We hear you
Yes,
good.
sir.
Oh, great.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. You know, I like, whenever I do anti-violence work, I like to, set a spirit and a tone, um, you know, for our work in the streets. And we do this in the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition way, NAVC way. We say stop the shooting, stop the killing, stop the violence, Black power, all power to the people. Assalamu alaikum, Hotep, right? And Hotep simply means it's an ancient African Egyptian
That's it, Pooh.
word for peace, to offer peace. Some historians say this is the oldest written word for peace in human history.
Universe.
So we say Hotep, Hotep. We say peace. Proper education always corrects errors, and peace in the streets. So with all that being said, it's good to be here. We just coming back from the streets, from a maneuver on Grove and Springfield Avenue. Mayor Ted Tamir Green, the mayor of East Orange, New Jersey, has been calling for a series of anti-violence rallies starting last week. He started last week on Shepherd and Central, where a young brother was killed. And now we went over today. We went over in the cold. We went over to Grove and Springdale. And those of us who represent the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition, NAVC, we used to the cold. We marched and rallied for 5 years straight.
155 straight weeks.
Absolutely.
Rain, snow, or shine. We didn't give a damn. We were shutting it down.
Absolutely. Rain, shine, heat, or cold weather. Blizzards and all, right? We out there shut it down because unfortunately, the killers don't stop for weather. They kill. So we went out there with a lot of brothers from the street orgs, from the street organization, from street culture. Strong. It was strong today to see brothers and sisters from street culture. And I don't want to say too much on these airways because this thing ain't secure, but from street culture. And those of you who know what street culture is, those of you who do know what street culture is, you know what I'm talking about. So we had the different brothers and sisters from the street culture, from the street orgs, representing strong out today. Strong, in unity. In unity, as well as the Muslims, as well as the Christians, brothers and sisters putting aside all of our differences to work together in the spirit of unity to stop senseless community violence. So it was really strong. Big shout out, big props. Alhamdulillah. All praises due to God for Mayor Ted Tamir Green in East Orange. He saw the need to pull all these forces together to help him and help our community and our efforts to stop the killing. So big props to the brother, man. So that's what we did today. We did this last Friday. In fact, the mayor wants to keep on going, brother Baba Zaid.
Wow.
He wants to do another one.
Yeah, because some of us been whispering in his ear for a few years now.
Yeah,
he finally responded. Good.
Yeah, brother. He had all those people out. It was strong. It's strong. And Sister Dawn, man, she held it down.
Dawn is one of our cherished,
baby.
Absolutely. Cherished daughter. That's right.
Yes. She held that balloon releasing ceremony circle down today. Strong sister. Alhamdulillah for Sister Dawn Muslima, one of our original members of co-founders of the mighty Newark Anti-Violence Coalition.
So Bashir, Bashir, why don't you tell us what were the rallies about? Why were the mayor doing the rallies?
Because they were again, I want to give a shout out to Brother Sharif. Brother Baba Zaid Sharif tore it up today, brother. Woo!
He always does.
Strong speech today.
Shout out to Brother Sharif.
Yeah. Strong. When I'm talking about, brother, he gave a clear analysis. He was raising the conscious levels of all those brothers and sisters out there that some of us are afraid to organize with, Baba. And brother, I gotta say that.
Right.
Some of us are afraid to organize with all our knowledge, with all the revolutionary knowledge and Afrocentric knowledge that we have, all the Muslim knowledge, Christian. We are afraid to go and organize with these young brothers and sisters.
With our own damn kids.
Absolutely, brother, because it's open for you to pull those brothers and sisters into those circles, right? You about revolutionary struggle? Well, goddamn it, you can pull those brothers
There you
in.
go. There it is.
You
This
about the
spread's
Kemetic,
needed.
you about the Kemetic Afrocentric struggle or cultural nationalist struggle. I hate using those terms, but folk know what I'm talking about when
Absolutely.
I say if you down with that, then you can pull them in. You down with the political revolutionary struggle, you can pull those brothers and sisters in. Right?
I didn't steal the autobiography of Malcolm X from a bookstore. I stole it in a drug transaction.
Yeah, man. They there. They
Right.
young. They looking, brother. They fearless. Look, they fearless. We talked about the 56th anniversary tonight on a street corner. We talked about the 56th anniversary of the assassination of Fred Hampton, right? The former chair of the Chicago chapter of the original Black Panther Party. We out there talking about the brothers in the cold with brothers and sisters from the street orgs, from the street culture, building. You know what I'm saying? Because why? We ain't got time, brother Ed.
And Fred represented the best in the party at doing exactly what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Illinois, Chicago wasn't just the biggest chapter in the party. Chicago had the biggest gang sets.
No doubt.
And Fred got in all of their heads. And when they saw the young lords, make that shift from banging to building and becoming a party, and Fred talking to these, invite all those big sets. It's we got to slow this one down.
Absolutely, brother. But we the point of it all, Bob. Back in the day, you provided those classes where you were teaching the revolutionary struggle.
Oh hell
but
yeah!
Unfortunately, other cats have not picked up that torch, so they don't know nothing about that. So we started doing what you did to us back in the day. We talking about the revolutionary struggle, right? We talking about Fred Hampton. We talking about the original Black Panthers on the block, on the street corner.
That's right.
That folk intellectualized now. Folk who they doing lectures, Ed. They're writing books, right? Now, what inspired all
conferences, seminars, webinars.
So Ed, what inspired all this is it has been murders going on, shootings going on in East Orange.
Yeah.
Right. That's what inspired the mayor.
Yeah, we had a few right back to back and hadn't had it in a while.
Absolutely. And one of those murders was my former student, Hamza Abdul Haq, right? He was my student at Weekway, and we became friends when he left Weekway. He and I became friends, but unfortunately he was murdered out there on North Clinton Street between Park Avenue and Hamilton, right? So this is what's inspiring Mayor Ted Tamir Green to call the community leaders, right? To call the brothers and sisters from the street orgs, from the street culture, to come on out in unity, yes. Right? In unity, and we doing it under the principle, Baba. We doing it under the principle of what Mama or Mary Baraka call us to do. We doing it in unity, in the spirit of unity without uniformity. Right. We doing it like that. So everybody got their own lane, but the objective is Black liberation. You know what I'm saying? The objective is stopping the violence, right? So that's what we're doing, E. And in North, of course, we had a mass shooting that took place on Leslie and Chancellor. So let me give a little bit of back. Let me back up a little bit. The Mighty Newark Anti-Violence Coalition called for a rally. I would say that the next day called for a rally. I believe the murders took place. Those shootings and murders took place on Leslie and Chancellor. I believe it was November 15th. I believe it was, and then we went into the streets the next day. That was Saturday. And the next day we went into the streets, organized the community to stop the violence, right? So we've been doing follow-up meetings, particularly at Masjid Ibrahim. Big shout out to Imam Derek Kareem. We had him on the show just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, long live Imam.
Right, to honor Mustafa Al Amin, right? The legendary resident Imam of Masjid Ibrahim, one of the co-founders of that masjid, and all the work he's done to bring many, many brothers and sisters to Islam, right? He was on the show, right? But he's been leading folk in that neighborhood, calling for community meetings and calling for a healing. And so we've been assisting him. He's been assisting us. We've been working together. As a result of all these meetings, we're going to be holding an emergency anti-violence town hall meeting at Masjid Ibrahim this Saturday, December 13th at 1 p.m. after Salatul Dhuhr, after afternoon prayer. We're going to be holding this emergency anti-violence town hall meeting. It's in collaboration with Mayor Raj J. Baraka, Newark, New Jersey's mayor, Mayor Raj J. Baraka's Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery, along with the Mighty Newark Anti-Violence Coalition, and a ton of other organizations that are all going to come together, man, and discuss some things. Talk about how we discuss some strategies. Let me stop saying things. Discuss some strategies to stop the violence, but connecting folk to the resources of the Mayor's Office of Violence, Prevention, Trauma, Recovery, to bring some healing to that neighborhood. All right, that neighborhood is experiencing high levels of trauma right now because of those shootings. All right, and today, Ed, was the little baby's Jordan Garcia. And a couple of days ago, the young mother that was killed, her funeral was in New York. It was on Wednesday. All right. Her nephew is a student of mine. And, he's been absent for a few days due to all, the loss of his mother and the young mother, their sisters. All right. And, he's been away for a while, but he came back and he really thanked us. He thanked us, Bob, for going to the streets and doing that rally. He came to the rally. His whole family came to the rally. All right. And he came to the rally. So the first thing he said to me into my class yesterday, Thursday, he said, "Thank you, brother A. I thank you for that. I thank my family. Thank you for you guys going in the streets and doing that rally. So we're calling again a town hall, an emergency anti-violence town hall meeting on December 13th at 1 p.m. at Masjid Ibrahim, which is right there on the corner of Wainwright and Chancellor. You can't miss it. All right. And the masjid wasn't caught in between all that because the shooters were shooting around the masjid. And when they finished shooting, they ran past the entrance door of the masjid, So, we got a lot of work to do in that neighborhood, in that community, to bring some healing and some comfort to Black and brown and poor people in that neighborhood, particularly Black people. So, yeah, that's what we're doing December 13th, 1 p.m. At Masjid Ibrahim. So please, brothers and sisters, if you're available, come through. Let's give support to these families. Let's give support to these mothers, to these fathers, to these brothers and sisters, aunts, uncles, to the neighborhood. All right.
Yo, man, let me ask you a question, B. Can you speak to I know one of the things you and I talked about is that there was an open call for people to join the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition. Is that still going on?
Absolutely.
For people to get involved?
Absolutely.
And how do people do that?
If they want to get involved, what they can do is they could actually send email me their contact information. My email address is Bashir. It's BASHIR dot Akinyele, AKINYELE @gmail.com. They can email me their contact information. We'll email them an application to join the Mighty Newark Anti-Violence Coalition, the NAVC. Absolutely.
Say that one more time, B.
All right.
Your
so
email address.
The email address, Bashir, BASHIR, non-cap sensitive. So you can do capital BASHIR, or you can do lowercase SHIR dot AKINYELE at gmail.com.
Yep. So, folks, I would definitely say that, for those of you who are frustrated like we are, particularly I know me and Bashir, we talk all the time how frustrated we are. But I think one of the ways you can, get rid of that frustration is that you can,
Get
you know,
organized.
yep, you can do what Kwame Ture said, right? Organize, right? And you can join the organization. You can join the North Anti-Violence Coalition, or you can start your own organization, right? But I think it's necessary for all of us to do something,
Yes.
right? And because otherwise, I think that we're sitting on the sideline and we're seeing this kind of violence uptick in our community, and it gets to be really, really out of hand. And so, I know that, I'm frustrated. I know, Bashir is frustrated. I know Zaid, the way he worked his frustration out is that, he's on the ground all over the country like
Yes.
he is,
Yes.
Now. He's down in Philadelphia. So
Yes.
I think that, all of that's, important and necessary to do. I got to tell you, B, I know I wasn't out there with you guys tonight, but I can only imagine what Sharif was doing. I know he was setting.
He rise.
Yeah.
No, Sharif rise.
Yeah.
Brother Sharif was on fire, brother.
Yeah.
He was
I
on fire.
I tell you that all the time, man. I mean, Sharif is, he's doing the right kind of work, right?
Yeah.
He's in the right zone.
Yes, sir.
He's out there, and because he know how to speak the language of the people, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
well.
Yeah, and that's what what's necessary. I think we have to call you Mr. Organizer, because you the man to organize it all, brother. You know what I mean? And appreciate your contribution, man.
And it's a
Constantly
reflection of the kind of teacher he is. A people's teacher who continues to teach and to organize in their community beyond the confines and limitations of the classroom.
Go ahead, Baba.
Yeah. And the fact that Bashir don't let our people go unrecognized, right? I mean, they're important. You think about it. So many of our people died. Nobody say nothing. Nobody do nothing, right? So we thank Bashir, for recognizing these small people, man. By keeping it. We say in our tradition, say their name, right?
That's right. That's right.
Do more than say their name. He go out in the middle of the street, bring the family, and he say their name to the entire community, right? And I think that all of that's important, man. And we need to give you your flowers right now, B, just to say, man, we appreciate you, brother. We thank you, man, for going out there and doing that work, man.
I'm honored, brother. I'm honored. Thank you so much, and thank you for all politics. Excuse me. Thank you to All Politics, our local radio show, for filming the rally.
Yeah, man.
I really, we really appreciate All Politics local radio show documenting the rally. That went viral, went everywhere.
Yeah.
A lot of folks all around the country and all around the world.
Yeah, y'all got almost
10. Real quick. Has Ted been on the show since he's been mayor?
No, he hasn't been on since he's been mayor. No.
We gotta invite him again. I know we've invited him.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I just want to put a pin in that.
Absolutely.
He used to come on all the time when he was a councilman.
Right.
But
I want to say this. My students came to me. They did an award ceremony at Weekway High School, right? And they gave out awards to the students, who are got high honor roll or doing well in the class or behavior is good and all that. And I go to support my students, but then they do an awards portion. They dedicate part of the awards ceremony to teachers, so they give awards. And I didn't get an award, so my students all came to me, and students I don't even have. They said, "Brother A, why didn't they give you an award?" I said, "They don't give fighters awards."
Wow.
You think I got an award? You think
Wow.
the original Black Panther Party members got awards?
Wow.
No, they were recognized by the people. And I told my students, my name, my work is recognized by the people. I said,
Right.
first by you guys, my students who recognize me, who honor me, respect me every day, from folk in the community. You know what I'm saying? I ain't looking for no awards. I probably would never get an award for teacher of the year or educator, teacher of the what do you call it? Teacher of the year in Newark, teacher of the year of the state, teacher of the year Essex County, Essex County. I will probably never get any awards like that. I'm good long as the people recognize me. That's it.
Yep.
That's what's important. And look, it took some white folks outside of Europe to recognize Dr. King because these folk in America, these white folks in America, they didn't want to recognize the brother.
That's right. Now
Huh?
you talking about the Nobel Peace Prize and
Absolutely, brother. Come on, Baba, teach. Come on, Baba, teach.
Well, one thing is for sure, B, we recognize you, man. We see you.
100%.
We appreciate your contribution, and we appreciate you being on the front line as long as you have. Just before we wrap up, B, to tell the folks how many students you lost, in this thing, man, because this ain't new to you. This is true to you, brother.
Absolutely. I've stopped counting at 50, probably in the 60s now, but I had stopped counting after losing 50 kids to street violence. So the number is crazy, and I just lost 2, Hamza Duhat and Masai.
And one in Newark. That's right.
Right, Masai Rogers, one of the victims of the mass shooting on Leslie and Chancellor. Right, he was 19 years old. He was in my class 2 years ago. I even had his little brother, Mahad Rogers, last year in my class. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
that just doesn't even seem true, B. I mean, when you say it, that's why I wanted you to say it, because nobody could believe that one man, you could have lost all them kids, man. Yes. The violence.
Yes, unfortunately. And that's why I'm a member of the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition.
Right.
Because I got tired of losing my kids. And I said, I got to do some outside, like Baba said, I got to do some outside the classroom. Right. I try to do as much as I can inside the classroom, inside Weequahic High School where I teach at.
Right.
But
let me also say, for full disclosure, Bashir is one of the co-founders of All Politics.
Absolutely right. In fact, I'm sitting in his chair. He stepped out.
That's right.
That's all right.
Full disclosure.
Power to the people.
So listen, man, we're gonna wrap up, and Bashir, tell the folks one more time, man, where that rally is gonna be at the Masjid, man.
Okay, cool. It's gonna be emergency anti-violence town hall meeting in collaboration with Mayor Raz J. Baraka's Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery in Newark, New Jersey, in collaboration with the Mighty Newark Anti-Violence Coalition, in collaboration with Masjid Ibrahim on Saturday, December 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, listen, we want to thank everybody for coming through tonight. We want to thank Rock and Alturrick for coming through and doing the Pastrami in politics. It was about to get on fire. Thank God they only had an hour. They were about to set off a fuse up in here tonight. Zaid, you want to thank everybody else who came through?
Yes, Jalil, an honor to have my big brother, comrade, Jalil Muntaqim on. It's been able to do something with him like that since he's been out, and he's just been out just about 4 or 5 years now after doing 49 years in prison, right? And then, of course, Mumia's doctor, and he's a people's doctor, Dr. Ricardo Alverez, who just got finished seeing Mumia tomorrow, and was a part of this long trek. The old heads have been in, and he's the youngest out of the old heads, right? Wow. That this long 108-mile trek that we're doing up to Frackville in Pennsylvania to Mumia's prison, to turn the volume up on that. And he just adopted a student in this young organizer named Johanna Rahman, who was one of the organizers of this particular march that we're doing. And there's a healthy circle of young folks who have joined our bigger circle for Mumia that are really taking this very personal and trying to get some things done. So I wanted to shout them out.
Yep.
Wow.
And then, of course, we want to definitely thank Bashir for coming through tonight and not thinking that robbery to come through and give us a status update on what's happening, live and in color in the streets. So we definitely appreciate Bashir for coming through, of course, tonight. And listen, I want y'all to take that seriously and, and reach out to Bashir, man, because I think that work doesn't happen, without, us getting in the streets and doing what we need to do. So, wherever y'all hear Bashir is organizing, y'all need to be out there with him. Again, that rally, that state of emergency anti-violence tour rally is going to take place on December 13th at 1 p.m. at Masjid Ibrahim, 392 Chancellor Avenue. That's 392 Chancellor Avenue in the great city of Newark, in the great South Ward, I might add, right? And that is a place where Bashir knows well. How long you been teaching over there, B?
Oh man, almost 25 years that week. Wow, almost 25. Been teaching for 30 years, but my current assignment, it's been at Weekway and Weekway High School, and I've been there for nearly 25 years now.
Yeah. Hey, B, you don't look like what you've been through, brother.
Wow.
Make it play. Make it play.
Yep. You don't look like what you've been
through. All right, I take that. I received that. I received that.
Well, listen, man.
They take you to hell and back at the public schools, boy. Woo. Well, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
Well, we thank everybody for tuning in tonight, and we'll see y'all next week. As my brother Zaid like to say, we'll catch him where's I?
In the whirlwind.
In the whirlwind. All right.